Yo, 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 welcome to Crate 808 and another live stream for our Crate 808 patrons, the 808 Chamber, we're calling it. It's very loosely, tenuously linked to the Wu-Tang Clan, as everything is on this podcast. And today we've got two very, very special guests. Our usuals, Ray and James, are on today, but we have got GENG PTP all the way from the US and Yemi from Rhymes Like Times podcast over there, the UK flavor as well. How are you doing, Gang? How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Still have a voice after last night's show.
Oh, the man had a show as well. Damn, how many hours sleep you had, do you think?
5, probably. Oh, I just found an earplug. There you go. Yeah. I just got these shits falling out my pocket. Yeah, about 5, maybe.
Yeah.
4 and change. It's struggle. It's a struggle once you get past 40 with all that. But
Bro,
still glowing.
I always have respect for you anyway, but I have multiple times that now, knowing that one, you're over 40 and you can just do that. I can't. After 5, I can't even
Check,
so
check the story. There's clips on the Instagram story. You know what I mean? That's
okay.
My man, shout out to my man Queso, who came through as Ghostface for Halloween, and he did a little verse of Mighty Healthy during our set.
No, mate, come on. Where were you performing before we quickly, where were you stomping?
It was at this place called Trans Picos. We performed there before with Cities of Eve. I don't frequent that venue much anymore, like in the past few years. I mean, not since quarantine or whatever, but before that even. But they got a new staff and a new system, and we played it twice, and both times have been killer. Like the sound is just crazy. Plus, what we do, shit really envelops the space. It's all red lights. It's wild fog. It's strobe light pointing at the audience. It's like,
nice. And that's NY, right? That's NYC.
Yeah. It's in Ridgewood / Bushwick. It's kind of like you cross the street, you're on like one part of the town. Cross it, you're in Queens. You know what I mean? It's fucking Bushwick. It's new Bushwick, NU Bushwick. You know what I mean?
New Bushwick. Oh man. Okay. Well, that's nice, man. I'm glad you're still here with us to do this special subject today. And we've also got Yemi over there, my bro. How are you doing, man? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, bro. Very happy to be here. As we said before, it's been a while since we've chopped it up, but looking forward to today's bit of business. Yeah, should be a good one.
Yeah, and let's not beating around the bush. We are talking today. The patrons did vote for this, our top 5 hip hop films, and it's big. It's big. We will get into the criteria before we kick off. But yeah, no, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to this one. I think we've got Jack P in the chat. Evening, mate. How are you doing, bro? Other people, jump in when you can. And yeah, man, I've just got to do a bit of a mailbag here. So lads, first of all, big up to our new Patreon. His name, which is kind of great, Barney the Crab. And I'm wondering, Barney the Crab, I don't know if there's a riff of anyone else, but a big up, man. He's been in the DMs and we talked about what is the one Redman track you would play to an alien to teach it hip hop. And I don't know, this conversation got really mixed up. And he comes in with one of the most greatest and most overlooked Redman tracks is Creeping. And I'm actually here for that. I'm enjoying the track Creeping. The way he delivers his rhymes on that is mental. And he then goes into saying how good the rhymes are. So yeah, Creeping. I don't know if you guys have any Redman cuts you wanted to throw to the mix, Yemi and Gang, if you have any that you want to. I know it's a bit
Redman cuts.
Yeah, like the cut you would,
Redman cuts.
Yeah, like the cut you would play to an alien to teach it hip hop. Feel free to let it stew.
You want me to spit it?
Don't spit it, but have you got one like in mind?
Damn. All right, it's a tie. It's a damn tie.
Okay.
I think Redman's peak is There Is a Dark Side.
Me too.
I love that album. I love it. In a car, it sounds great today in a car with a proper system. Like the sub bass on that shit is actually a big inspiration to like how I engineer. Yeah, it's present. I would say honestly, Rockefeller. Is it Rockefeller? Is that
yes,
that joint?
Bro?
The video,
This is why we get on. That is honestly. Go.
That, or bob your head to this. There's so many joints off the album, but I'd definitely say Rockefeller, or his verse on Cosmic Slop is like, okay, this is why Redman is incredible.
Yeah.
Like this is. Otherwise, I would take it to like, and I hate to be the single. I would take it either hardcore, which was an EPMD interlude. I feel like it was on the fourth EPMD album, I believe.
Yeah.
The one with headbanger and all that,
on it, yeah.
Yeah. Or shit. I mean, Tonight's the Night's like a perfect song to me.
It is. You got one here, gang. You're dropping me 5 or 6. I'm not.
I know.
I'm with you. I'm
five-piecing it. I'm sorry.
No, I love it though. I love it.
Stomping it while it's down.
Right, yeah. Rockefeller though is right there for me. Yemi, did you have any? You got anything top of your head? How are you on Redman generally?
Redman generally, I've only really listened to like the first maybe 4 albums.
All you need to do.
To be fair, yeah.
So I'm with you in the sense that There Is a Dark Side is the one that I enjoyed the most. So if I was gonna pick one, it's probably Can't Wait. Can't Wait is my favorite Redman song. I can't lie.
Bro,
that's the one I just skip to all the time.
Love that.
Just the lyricism, like switching up speeds, like Bruce Lee ran a Fuji in a movie.
Get that on a tee.
You know what I mean? Like the aliens will have their heads spun after that one.
Yes.
Facts.
Yeah.
And then Tonight's the Night, you can't go wrong with that. Time for some action.
Time for
I'm gonna cheat and say I'm gonna cheat just because I love the beat so much, and I feel like it would be great listening to that from space. The Rockwilder.
Yeah, bro. I was talking about the Rottweiler on the Redman chat we were having. As usual, this live stream's done the same things. We just go into a Redman wormhole. This is all it's like we've spent an hour talking about Redman. Can we just get on to something else now? But yeah, no, they're like, I'm just going to cap it with this. The Rottweiler is great. I love it. And I'm glad if we had done this chat together, it'd have been a lot shorter for one thing, because we agree. But I think is it Rockefeller the one at the end where he's just like tweaking out on mushrooms, and his voice is manipulated to a point where you're like, what is he doing? Like, what? And that is genius. Like, on the brink, where it's like, if he tips over here, it could be really bad. But when they're just on that like kind of precipice, that is the album for me. And love that album. So my other last piece of mailbag here, Aaron Cosgrove, a legend as usual. He came in, and guys, we have a playlist, a flute and xylophone Patreon playlist, because pretty much if I get a flute or a xylophone in a hip hop song, I'm in. You've pretty much 70% got me. You have to do something really bad for not to keep me there, right? This is why I love Quick. This is why Quick's got a lot of good flute usage. So Aaron Cosgrove dug into the crates here, and he's got some great ones here for me that I didn't put on the playlist, so I'm going to list them out. It's Okay by All Natural, Identical Thoughts by Danger Mouse and Black Thought, great shout. Shiraz, Action Bronson, great shout. Talking Back by Benny the Butcher. Past, Present and Future by KRS and Bookshot. I don't remember that one. That's a wicked one. Shine by Pheromone. I think I shouted that one before, but always here for that again. And I'm always here for the 7L and Esoteric Love. What I Mean and I Hate Flying. And I went back to those ones, and they are great. So just a little bit of housework for you. Enjoyable housework though, I think. All good. Osmonic Bowles in the chat. Yo. Steve Piper. Boom. How you doing? Shout out to Gang and Yemi. Here we go. Pour out a little bit of Rabina for the usuals. And it's nice to have you on. And now we're going to get into it, right? So oh no, we're not. We've still got to long it out. Least hip hop thing, guys. Least hip hop thing in the last 24 hours.
Oh, I've been thinking about this one all day, man.
Go on then, Yemi. What have you got, mate?
So recently, I registered myself as a sole trader. So I basically had to do a lot of tax stuff, which is the most fun thing you could ever imagine doing. Just spend the time out of your day to just fight with the government about your tax. Great. And I think that's a very grown-up thing to do, but I'm not sure how hip-hop is,
No, I don't know. Why is it that when you said soul trader, I started thinking of horror films and Hellraiser, and I was like, what, you been trading? And I went that way with it, and that just speaks to how I've been and how tired I am. But also, not very hip-hop there, Yemi. Not very hip-hop. I get that. I like that. Gang, what you got, my man? You've just done a show, so it's gonna be tough.
24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't even know. Got a matcha latte or some shit. I don't know.
There
I mean,
you go.
but yo, honestly though, that's my whole shit. When you asked me this prior to in an episode that has yet to be aired, I think like everything you do, you know, can be so-called hip hop. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna make more cases for this in this movie list, my friends.
Oh.
You know. But yeah, it's
Okay.
like, you know, if you have a certain energy to yourself and certain, you know, way of navigating the world, it kind of comes out in everything. So
Yeah, I
you
love
know, I
that.
walk into a store, it's different. The energy changes. You know what I mean?
I love that. I love that, man. Very true. And the least one of those hip hop things then is probably getting that latte, though, mate. Just be honest. I think that's probably...
I think saying latte is the least hip hop shit that I could do in a day. Maybe.
I think saying it.
I've got one better. I've got one better.
Go on.
Cold press smoothie. I had that today.
I mean, you talking, yo, we should link up on some smoothie shit because I'm the smoothie king of New York, or king of the states or the East Coast or something. So yeah,
I'm trying to ingest some New York smoothies real soon.
Okay,
right, let's go.
Let's do this. Styles P smoothies, any good? Styles P smoothies.
Styles P is one of my favorite rappers of all time because of that. Because instead of liquor, he's fucking with juices and the bar. You know what I mean? Like he's doing the calisthenics, like, you know. And also it's just like ill. Like he's an ill dude.
Yeah, it seems it.
I've never had a smoothie though. But
okay.
I could definitely recommend that people go to Juices for Life and get, like, you know, get some juice.
Yeah.
I've not had smoothies, and I heard about the smoothies there, but the juices, different thing, different lane. You know, yeah.
Yeah, love this.
Support the business, support the man, and Kiss too, I think, is in it now.
Yeah, right. Wicked, man. Keep it in the family.
His partner too, I believe.
Yeah, I think his family's into it. Yeah, wicked, man. Marley's hip hop thing then is almost asking you a question: what's the difference between juice and a smoothie? But I'm not going to do that. It's like, but that would have been my least hip hop thing, definitely. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my that. So
I'm turning into a barista.
And I like the pun of the bar. And I know you went there. I went there with the bar.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that. Head on a swivel, man. Head on a swivel. So, top 5 hip hop films of all time. We don't have to rank these. They're just 5 favorites. And I think we're all old and mature enough to know that this 5 can change. Like, you know, as life does change, so do these 5s. So this 5 could change. So you can laminate it for now, but then take it off the wall and re-laminate it if you need to. But that's a little caveat. I think we need to talk about the criteria, though, guys. I'm going to ask you in a minute what you think, if there is a genre like you would say specifically, or if there's any strong takes you have on the just term hip hop film and how you're going to classify your, if you have anything to say on that. I'm just going to put down a few more kind of harder, faster rules that we put in place that feel free to break, basically. So here we go. I've got like one of the criteria we had was that it's related to or portrays the culture or life of the music that it's born in, which is quite a vast encompassing kind of term, I thought. And right, I kind of purposely did it that way. And second one, there must be a rapper starring in a major role, and or the film has like a hip hop ethos with them in it. Have a hip hop soundtrack, which is always a good shout. And you could maybe even just say have one really good hip hop song, maybe. So there's that as well. I'm not going to do docs today. So it's kind of just going to be fictional, because Yemi's already shaking his head, only because I feel like docs, although they are narrative led, I do feel like they're a different kind of beast for hip hop for me. And I have like 20, and I want to kind of and I don't want to dilute them too much. And I think a strong episode after this might be top 5 hip hop docs, which could itself be like quite a good chat. So again, feel free to push back. And the last caveat really,
so basically, you made that rule just to stop yourself from naming 5 documentaries.
Yeah,
I see you, Cam.
Yeah, I'm glad that you see through this facade, man. I do. I'm glad of that. But you know what? The last one is kind of a caveat to all of it. Is if none of that applies, make your case for why you think it's a hip hop soundtrack, or hip hop film, because I'm always here for that. So I'm going to jump around. I've got my 5, but I'm going to wait. So I'm going to go to Yemi first and see what you're going to go with, my man. What have you got?
All right. So am I giving my list and reasons or just my list?
Do you know what? I forgot about that. If you want to talk about generally reasons beforehand, absolutely go for it, both of you. And then we can go into the list if you want. Yeah.
All right, cool. So I've kind of got mine ranked. So number 5, I've got Straight Out of Compton. I think it's the best hip hop biopic so far. I think it tells the story amazingly. It's shot amazingly. It obviously captures one of the biggest rap groups we've ever seen. In the culture that they basically had created themselves as far as gangster rap and, you know, the outrage that they were getting. I just think it's really well told. There's a lot of great narrative, obviously, because the story of NWA is so vast and there's a lot to chew on. So yeah, I just found myself watching it like a bag of times when I first had my chance to, and just finding new things to love about it and finding new nuggets of knowledge of the story generally. So yeah, definitely putting that up there. Straight Out of Compton, number 5.
Love that.
Number 4.
So hold on.
Sorry.
Let's go one by one. Let's do them one by one and get nicely into it. I think that's 2015, right? It's about that, isn't it? Yeah. And
Something like that.
Straight Outta Compton, yeah. So absolutely, I can see the hip hop film vibe there. For me, it is my favorite biopic as well. I have a bit of I don't know, with a troubled relationship with biopics a little bit. Actually, to be fair, Straight Outta Compton kind of leans into that my issues with them, which is this more softer edge to them, which they kind of have to have. One, to be more appealing, and two, you're kind of documenting with the rights of the people probably involved at this time. Straight Outta Compton having that as well. And so naturally, you're not going to go to trouble territory too much. And I thought the Straight Outta Compton stuff was, for what it did well, was brilliant. I felt like I was watching my Walk the Line. It felt like the generations come to now a level, and the beauty of it was that I've been here seeing it happen, and it's grown and grown, and now this is kind of a great film for my 16-year-old like nephew or niece, who obviously know Dre, know Snoop from us guys. Now they can watch it and get stuff from it that I can never really explain to them. Like, you know, it kind of really encapsulates the dark undercurrent, I suppose, of NWA as well, but not as much as it should. I feel like basically what I'm alluding to is like Dre's history with however he's been portrayed, and obviously the cases against him with domestic abuse and stuff like that. And I was thinking, I know you're not going to get that, but there's not even any allusion, like you're not even alluding to it a little bit or anything like that. And for the actors playing them, loved that. I thought is it F. Gary Gray in it? It is F. Gary Gray. So yeah, I kind of do love that as a biopic. Definitely, it's more my issue is with biopics, I feel, rather than the film itself. Again, what are you saying to Straight Outta Compton?
Yeah, I had to. I didn't see it. I kind of share a similar distrust, I'll say, in biopics. Although I do engage with like the Wu-Tang drama, the Wooloo show.
Like that.
But very like cautiously and with a super light heart, just because I know it's going to be like a Marvel Universe type rendition of a retelling, and things are going to be out of like, my whole shit is like context and like precision to like the actual like history versus like a weird revising of the thing to present it, and whether it be for whatever, like whether it be to like commodify and cause, you know, act as a money grab, or whatever it is, you know. I saw the posters, and immediately when I saw them wearing Uptowns or Air Force Ones, I was like, I'm not fucking with this already. Like, I've never seen a press. I was literally in this whole conversation, I was looking up two things. Well, one thing to confirm, but two things. The second thing being, I was just going through Google Images and looking at NWA press photos and being like, yo, has anyone ever worn a Nike Air Force One mid, all white, white on white, in any of those press photos? And I've never seen. They got flights. They got what look like, I don't know. I don't even know if they got they might have white Cortezes. But it got some like basically the footwear was off, and I was like, eh. and I could say so much about the Wu-Tang show too, but that's not what this episode's about. But with a similar like lack of precision storytelling, so to speak. Inconsistencies in terms of how like the facts and the style and the language was back then. The other thing I was wondering about, because since I didn't see the movie and I don't remember the commentary around this when the movie dropped, does it glaze over the D Barnes situation, or did it upset Dre because it addressed the D Barnes situation? I'm
Sorry,
big
Yemi,
fuck. I'm big fuck Dre energy, honestly, because he has like he said nothing. He like is like on just like the fuck that, like y'all shouldn't be talking about this anymore. Has never like said anything, addressed it, and I'm just like, fam, like this person is out here still getting tweets from you and Eminem fan club people every day or every week or whatever. A friend of mine told me like she still like retweets every time with like a clapping emoji. Someone's like quotes the Eminem line about D Barnes. And she's like struggling, like apparently, like she's like she like lost a lot of like her opportunities in the so-called industry, which is not made for humans. You know what I mean? Like
no, absolutely,
because of
they don't really mention it. And
that's
I think
crazy.
very much address the omission. I think originally it was in there, but then it was taken out. That started a whole thing.
Right.
So yeah, there are glaring omissions from this film.
Sure.
But I think the wider point at least for me, when it comes to biopics is, especially if the people who were involved in the actual story and the actual things that went down are involved in the production of the film, they're making it to be accessible. They're making it to be accessible to a wider audience, not just hip hop fans, I feel like. And I think with Straight Outta Compton, it is a it is a watered down version of what actually went down.
Sure.
But I suppose for someone like Dr. Dre, who's in the position that he's in, he's not going to present himself in a certain light. Ice Cube might not want to necessarily present himself in a certain light, and so on and so forth. So I think, especially when it comes to Straight Outta Compton as well, you've got so many different viewpoints and you've got so many different angles to kind of negotiate with. So there are certain things that are going to be taken out or not even addressed or even touched on. And I think that just works to the overall mission of getting the story out to as wide an audience as possible and making it seem as important as it is, really, the story itself. So while I do hear you guys when it comes to actual like accuracy, like in an ideal world, I would love for them to be wearing the trainers of the time. I would love for them carrying Walkmans from the time and stuff like that. But it is what it is in some regards, especially when you got like Hollywood, because it was a big Hollywood film, especially when you got Hollywood to answer to as well.
Yeah, they got to have their sponsors to appease and whatnot. Like Iron Man is a suit of armor made up completely of like Verizon phones. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's this kind of weird balancing act with Hollywood, right? And I completely see both sides. I absolutely do. And I think for me, it's always that kind of moment where it's the broader point of how it affects like the generation that I know in immediate, kind of like my family and my friends, and how are them kids going to get to know the culture that we know and loved. And for all that other stuff, I think that I hope there are heads. And also, obviously, the internet, they can just kind of, whilst they're digging, I hope they come across this stuff. It's a kind of bit wistful, kind of maybe. But in my head, it's more like that energy I felt as a kid for this culture that kind of just fell into my lap. I had no like real stake in it. And I grew this kind of love for it. Through like just kind of maybe inaccessibility from where I was at my age in 1992, 1993. And now feeling when I see the No Vaseline scene and when I see the scene where they're making, I cannot even remember the first track that Eazy-E rhymes on, that feeling I have when I see it on the screen, it does take me back. There's no stop. That's something I cannot hold back. That is me feeling like now I'm 12, 13, 14 again, and fully finding this thing for myself. And the No Vaseline scene made me do that. And then it also, whilst I'm watching it with my younger siblings or whatever, and they're feeling it. And I'm like, oh, so now you get it. Now you understand when Q dropped that, how big a thing it was for me, and just for me at that time. But then as you grow in the culture, you realize, man, that is a seismic moment. And there's a lot of those moments in the film. And I'm glad that we talked about it, because I don't think I've got anything on my list that's kind of like straight out of Compton. So there you go, straight out of Compton, bing, bang, bosh. What have we got here? Osmond's chipping in. Let's see what he's saying here.
Some interesting comments in the chat for sure.
Okay. Does the truth bending we see in biopics an issue for you guys? I think we discussed that a little bit. Yeah, it is for me as well. It is for me as well. I think it is for all of us, really, in a way.
Yeah, I'm just of that mind too. It's fine. Like, I'm just over here on the spectrum, and
yeah,
you know, it's fine. It's
yeah,
all good.
We've got to grow as a culture as well. Like, I want to see biopics for all their faults. I do want to see them, because I want to see hip hop get to that stage where with a, you know, encompassing culture, like, and not be, it's not a competition, but just to see it is beautiful for me. So he says Straight Outta Compton is a really enjoyable film, but it does easy and run a bit dirty. I can kind of see that argument.
Yeah, I agree.
I recently watched a Woo American Song and liked it, although it was interesting. Meth and Dex say it's heavily embellished. Again, I can completely see that as well. It has also got me heavily back into the Woo, which is a plus. I think if it's same as this, right? If I'm going back to listen to NWA's first 2-3 albums, you know, that's something I want to enjoy going back to do, you know. So Boys in the Hood,
they're doing their job.
And they're doing their job. That's exactly it. That's it. So Gang, let's go to you then, my man. Obviously, any takes on the term hip hop film, and if you have any takes on that or your criteria, or we could jump into your first shout, man.
Why don't I go into my first, which will then also address the terminology or whatever, I guess.
Let's do it.
I think my favorite of the group, even though we're not necessarily ranking them, but one of my favorite films of all time is Fresh from 1994. Directed by, I believe it's the directorial debut of Boaz Yakin.
Right.
Who this like, yo, all right. This movie does not have any rapper in it. You know, it has an incredible cast. With, let me just get the whole joint up here, because, you know, all right, so Sean Nelson is Fresh. He was like 13, I think. He's supposed to be 13 in this movie. But it's got, you know, Samuel L. Jackson, Giancarlo Esposito. Like, they're, you know, Sam L. Jackson is his pops. Giancarlo rather, is like the drug kingpin who basically is his boss. And, you know, it's like a phoenix from the ashes kind of like story arc. You know what I mean? It's like, what rapper, if we know the story, it's like this kid who's in like he's a young kid trapped in a inner city environment, you know, where the resources are slim. His family is separated. I forget if his mom's is like, what happened to his mother, but basically his sister, his older sister is sort of like his caretaker, it seems. But he also has this, like, there's a relationship that kind of goes both ways with them, and he wants to be sort of her protector, but, you know, he's like 13, so he's like, all right, well, figures out that he's gonna, between school and all that, you know, start hustling, get into the street shit. And also, when I say his family separated, I want to also be clear about the language there, and I definitely hesitate about using this whole like broken household, and I'm air quoting that. Terminology or like ideology that oftentimes gets put on to specifically Black and brown families in at least in you know, especially in the Americas, like, where it's like, I think it's just a very reckless surface level misunderstanding of the actual situation, and which more blames the survivors than the overarching system that's been in play for countless so-called generations. of said family. You know what I mean? So like, I don't rock with this whole like, oh, broken household, da da da. You know, pops wasn't there, but like the situation is presented is like his pops is like an ill chess player, but also perhaps fucks with the bottle a little too crazy. But he sees his pops and gets game from his pops. He you know, gets game from like all the people who are like kind of like so-called like elder figures around him, and you know, gets in the drug game and wants to get his family out the hood, basically, really get he and his sister out the hood. And you know, how many rappers, like that's the most quintessential, that's one of the most quintessentially retold stories in rap music past the, you know, throw your hands in the air, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many rappers have lived or lived around this sort of life experience, and also how many rappers aspire to tell the story of comeuppance, or like the cautionary side of this tale. You know what I mean? So there's that, and that's why like you know, the hip hop movie thing is a funny thing for me, because I'm just like, I'm not a fan of like genre. I'm not a fan of the term genre or the idea of genre or whatever, like, so to speak. Like, all right, like this has got to be this one thing, boom, 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 and it turns into a costume almost. Like pop movie. All right, we're gonna get Snoop Dogg in here. Cool. We're gonna get rappers in here. Cool. You know, it turns into this thing where it's like you start Googling shit and you start seeing hood movie, quote unquote. And it's just like, oh, this is your terminology for like black folks. You know what I'm saying? Like, it like very much boxes shit in, you know what I'm saying? And like, so I'm just like, yeah, there's a little bit more flexibility and variance in all this shit, you know what I mean? So for me, Fresh is like literally the most, like one of the most, like from a principality, you know, from like the principal standpoint, like the most hip hop shit. Especially that it takes place in New York in the 90s, in the early 90s. And interestingly enough too, like the dress code, like when I was watching it in junior high school or high school at that point, when I was watching that high school at that point, I was just like, we were wearing baggy clothes and all that shit by that point, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get into this Fresh, you know, the Genius, I Got Your Back video was the lead single off of that soundtrack, right? And that was before Liquid Swords dropped. So it was like, oh shit, like a new Wu-Tang song. Oh my God. And then there's clips from the movie and the video. It's beautiful. And like also like kind of harrowing. And you know, Sean Nelson's character, Fresh, is like wearing like Adidas Sambas and like doesn't have like baggy clothes on. And we're just like I'm just kind of looking at it like, And the soundtrack in the movie is like a lot of like twangy guitar, like ambience and shit. It's not, there's no hip hop soundtrack in the movie, which I thought was like kind of an ill choice, because when you buy the CD, it's got 3 Wu-Tang cuts on there. I Got Your Back, Heaven or Hell, Ray and Ghost. And that was before the Purple Tape, it's 94. And which also was a single prior to all that, Glaciers of Ice and all that. And the third single was Can It Be So Simple remix, and it's a different version than the one on the Purple Tape. It has the one on the Purple Tape has a melodic element that RZA added later on. So if you want to hear a different version, go to the Fresh soundtrack. And then the rest of the score is like Cold Crush Brothers and Furious 5 and shit. It's crazy. So it's all like hip hop, like you know, lineage, like early, like origin story, you know, routine type shit, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's and you know, there's that song FRESH, fresh, that's Fresh, like that's all on there. So it's an interesting sort of like interplay without being too on the nose with it. That's what I love about it so much. And it's just, it's a fucking beautiful, you know, crushing movie.
I think I remember that. So it's about 94, I think that came out. And over here, I think it's about 96 or so videotape. We had a videotape. Well, we used to rent videos out in our shop. So I'd always just raid that as a kid. And that's how I got into Jackie Chan at like 8 years old. I was like watching Meals on Wheels, like in the back, just like watching, you know what I mean? Like Armor of God and stuff like that, Police Story. Yeah, trust me, I want to do a Jackie Chan pod at some point and just trying to get there. But then this is, and yeah, Fresh was one of them. And so I knew about the Woo stuff on the soundtrack as well, but yeah, beautiful little film. Yeah, have you seen Fresh?
Never heard of it.
You will.
Interesting.
I'm definitely watching it now.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what Boaz Yakin's done since, but yeah, no, I mean, still definitely worth a watch, man. Absolutely, I would go there. Let's jump into the chat quickly before. It's Aaron. Yes, peeps. How are you doing, Aaron? So Aaron's on as well. So what we've done? We've done Fresh. We've done Straight Outta Compton. This is a good start. So that's 2015, 1994. Yeah, we're spanning some generations here.
Yeah,
with our shouts. And what am I going to go for then? Let's see what. Okay, yeah. I mean, mine are really obvious, to be fair. This may be on someone's 5. I'm interested to see if it is, but it'd be ridiculous if I didn't do House Party 1990. House Party. Reginald Hudlin, who did Boomerang, another one of my favorites. I think he produced like Django Unchained as well. So got some, and it's kid and play. It's kid and play. Totally transcended the genre. This is literally my point of view, by the way. So looking at it from the effect had in America, it seemed to be very much a commercial hit. But over here, yeah, it was like just completely transcended everything in my life. Quite like Friday. It's one of them few films that hip hop culture isn't like almost this. It is the centerpiece, but it's so in the DNA of it that the film's not really about hip hop at all. The film hip hop is its uniform. Hip hop is its language. Hip hop is its culture and its kind of DNA. As I said, it's actually just the coming of age teen film, man. And I love teen films and I love teen comedies, especially if they're done right. And I think it's easily the best hip hop teen movie in my eyes, even though there have been quite a lot. And I know Juice is huge. I have rewatched Juice so many times in my life, and just full disclosure like that, it's not in my 5. It's not in my 5, and I'll go into reasons why it's not in my 5 later. But Big Pac Stan, Bishop, incredibly complicated character, which I loved going into. But this film, it's just so much more universal. It's just so much more universal than and Juice is great for what it does. It portrays this world I'm not in. What House Party does is, shit, man, we got to get to this house party. Like that feeling of being a kid, knowing you've got to get to that house party, and that there are neighbors next door who will call people up and say, Public Enema? What is that? Public Enema? Like that. It's still an all-time. Like I laugh about that to this day in my head. When I hear Public Enemy, I hear John Witherspoon. Public Enemy, what is that? That always gets me there. And I think if you're transcending anything, teen lives, we're so open. Well, I'm sure some teens aren't, but I think as a teenager, you are looking just anything. You're soaking stuff up, and Black teen lives in the mainstream, accompanied by a banging soundtrack, all the elements of hip hop there, like I said earlier, dancing, DJing, rhyming, and the idea of, which I love, because I don't know if it was really a thing before I watched House Party, the idea of battling, the idea of competition, the idea of snapping on people, and big up Robin Harris. The way he snaps on people is unbelievable, and that culture itself of snapping that I didn't know much about. And dance battles being put on a screen like that. Fuck Save the Last Dance. Fuck this. I don't know what, this thing that came out, this kind of, my wife is younger than me, but her and her sister and her cousins, they love all these all these kind of like dance off films, Channing Tatum early days, all that. And I'm sitting there like, this is like watching them. Say that again.
Stomp the Yard.
Stomp the Yard.
And Bring It On as well.
And Bring It On.
Which one was the one with Jessica Alba?
Oh,
Honey.
Bro. Yeah, right. This is what I mean. And I'm not being like, and I do understand there's an audience for it and stuff like that. But when you're talking about dance battles, I'm talking about one of the greatest. I grew up seeing the greatest dance battle on screen. And so when I'm now seeing these other things, it's a diluted version and things that make it so endearing to this day. Like I watched it again last year. Like I do watch it every other year or every 3 years. My wife and I just put House Party on. Why not? And there's like the last time I watched it, the George Clinton cameo got me so, and I was oh, George, like I love the fact that they've done that nod. They didn't need to, but they did the nod, you know, and they got him in, and that kind of ode to where it's from. And I think actually that moment of like FOMO angst, you know, that kind of FOMO, like universal, like I don't want to miss out on the. I still get it now where I know my mates are having a party or something, and I'm like, really good, you know, I should really go there. And back then I'll dissipate my dad, you know, and just climb out the window and all that. But I'm like, I am the dad, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, it's so weird. So yeah, and big up Martin Lawrence as well. Like he became big in our lives, I think, more after House Party and the whole dragon breath, you know, that whole thing. And yeah, so before I jump into any more, but what do you guys think on House Party? Any takes?
Big up Tisha Campbell.
Yes.
You know yes. I mean? Speaking of Martin Lawrence, I mean, not even that she got to be centered around Martin Lawrence, but, you know, being that she was also on, you know what I mean? They had a show together. Like they literally like sprung up off. I think what Martin was after this, right?
I think they met. No, I think this might have been the first thing they did. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
And also just that dance scene. I mean, the fucking the leg hook joint, like
leg hook, man.
That's called
LeBron's still doing that in ads. LeBron's doing that in ads.
That's called the kid and play. Like in the Get 'em Girls video, Cameron, Cam and I think Freaky Zeke are on the Maury show. Yeah, because they're like the Maury show, the Maury flow from the Maury show. And they do the whole like, oh, it's not your kid, and then they start dancing. Like the child is not yours or whatever. They start doing the dance and they do the kid and play and they do the little hook with they got the Timbs on. They got the I don't know if they got the beef and broccoli, the mac and cheeses and all that, like the field boots. And it's just like, of course, like Cam is going to reference that because he's of the age that anyone who came up in New York around that time, you know, like saw a House Party and like knew that scene, especially because kids in school were doing that shit. You know what I mean? Kids at summer camp were doing that. So it's just like, you know, that's just like kids getting sturdy now or whatever. Like dancing has always been a present bit to the culture. Like, you know, we don't all gotta be like in Adidas tracksuits and you know, spinning on our face or whatever. Like it's not just about breaking. Like dancing is such movement is such a vital part to the greater like communal aspect of this culture, because how you know what you do in a room full of people when music is on is like that's how you got down, that's how you also got noticed, that's how you know what I mean, that's how you spoke without speaking when the music was too loud to speak, right?
I love that. What you say?
I mean, House Party was also in my top 5 as well.
Boom.
For all the reasons that you guys have said, I think it perfectly merges everything, right? It merges the slang, it merges the swag, it merges the kind of the b-boy culture, the dancing, the general party culture that, you know, hip-hop originated from as well. I think it's just done so tastefully. To your point, Cam, it's done so tastefully to the point where it is a hip-hop film, but at the same time, it's more of a coming of age film in a hip-hop kind of climate. So I think generally it's just such a good film as far as like story-wise. It broke so many people. Shout out AJ Johnson as well.
Which one? There's 2. Because the girl's called AJ Johnson and there's AJ Johnson in it. And you're like, oh, there's 2 AJ Johnsons. So odd. But yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, drip. Follow the
TJ Campbell's best friend.
Yes.
Shout out that one. But yeah, man. It's just a great film. I think I watched it like maybe a couple years ago as well. And yeah, man, still got the same emotions as when I first watched it when I was like, what, maybe like 13, 14.
Wow.
And yeah, man, it's dope. Shout out to Full Force as well. They did their thing. Very
intimidating. They're not 16, bro. Like, let's be honest. They're hench. They're just massive. And
they're 16 in Nigerian age. Uh,
Yeah.
I can say that because I'm Nigerian, but you know,
Yeah.
it's mad. But listen, they did it well. I mean, when when my man was shooting at everybody as well, when he was doing his thing, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
and George Clooney, as you said, like the rap in the prison, like there's just too much going on.
Bro, that
You know
rap
what I
in the
mean?
prison, I thought it was going to age really badly, but you know, every year I kind of still like it. And I'm like,
It's a banger, man.
yeah, yeah, lips don't fail
Banger.
me now. And you're like, oof, mate, don't be saying that in the jail cell. And I was like, why are you saying that, man? But but also, it's the other thing is, it's what always made me laugh is the fact that to full force are fully just endorsing this rape thing now. Like, it's like, hold on a minute, we're going from bullying to that? Like, this is a big step, lads. Like, come on, there's a big step here. And I don't know, but again, you watch something so many times, and little things like that start getting you. Oh, hold on a minute, how's that?
Yeah,
But
they were
even
really hard up, clearly.
yeah, absolutely.
Really hard
But
up.
do you know what as well though? You know what always gets me as well is that intro where the house party is like boom, boom. And I remember our first house party at university, we got away from the fam, we had our own digs, no one to tell us what to do, our own DJs coming, literally lines out the door, like 5-6 police cars in a riot van. I'm not even joking. That was my first house party. I was like, Jesus Christ, what's happened? Leytonstone, it was lit. Kings Road, big up people. And that was like, this was crazy. And I remember at the beginning of that house party, it was a night before, and we were all like, you know, a little bit nervous. You're like, it'll be all right. There'll be a few people turn up. It was like, look, if we do anything like the intro to house party, where the roof flows off, we've done well, man. Let's get there. Let's try to get there where the roof fucking flies off. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's just some of those moments where you're like, shall I remember? And I don't go to house parties anymore. And if I do go to house parties, not parties, they're house gatherings. They're house like, do you know what I mean? I've got a kid and everyone's got kids now. So the kid's upstairs sleeping and you're like, fuck's sake, man, this ain't a house party. You know what I mean? Like, we're just chilling. Like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, no, absolutely. Let's
Are
go
you
into
looking forward to the reboot?
Do you know what? I was
that.
trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
I saw it on Twitter by accident, and
yeah,
I got sad.
Who's
yeah.
gonna be that? What's did they announce? Because I know it's a 2023 date. I just saw it on Google as I was like looking up the soundtrack for this, but
They basically just reworked the story. Like the party is still the central point, but the reasons why they're having a party have changed.
Interesting.
They end up in LeBron James's house, and he's a hologram, and they decide that because he's away, they want to throw a party because they're in dire straits. And yeah,
Right.
I mean,
okay.
I'm not sure.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. So
LeBron James is a hologram. Okay.
Yeah, you kind of lost me at hologram. I'm not gonna lie.
Twitter
but...
beef. It's all over Twitter beef. Someone said DM slide.
it's all over Twitter beef. Imagine. Well, yeah, I don't know. I you know, it's that Fresh Prince that came out, and you know, there's been all these reworkings and stuff, and big up the Doom references in the Fresh Prince. I enjoyed those. Those were great. I haven't really got into it too much, but there was a few Doom references that I really enjoyed. So whoever's doing the set design, big yourself up, man. Cool. So let's go into the chat before we move into the next one. Yemi, your next one. What we got here? Jack P. Fresh is really great. The basketball scene has stuck with me for years.
Tell me about it,
Jack P. Yeah, that's it. And I'd be down for a Hong Kong movie pod, says Steve Piper. I'm here for it, bro. Yeah, Shaw Brothers unite. Let's do this. So let's do the next one. Oh, hold on. And I was going to reference this, Iqbal. I was going to reference Space Jam. After seeing LeBron in Space Jam, I think I prefer him as a hologram. It's a great shout. That is a great shout. It was from there. And yeah, fair play. So Yemi, my man. What did you do before? Straight out of Compton. What you got up next? What you got?
So straight out of Compton, I got House Party as well. My next one is one that features my favorite rapper of all time. It's directed by the greatest hip hop director of all time. As far as music videos are concerned.
I'm going.
I know where
you're going. Let's do this.
Yeah. You know where I'm going. It's got a very, very dope soundtrack.
Letterboxing.
Yeah, it's got everybody from Jay-Z to you know, D'Angelo. It's just a very dope mix of people. Belly. I'm thinking Belly. I don't think you'll find a film that is shot as beautifully as Belly. Like, I think of the scene, the pan scene of Nas just like sitting with the picture above him.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of, you know, the glow in the dark club. I'm thinking of those types of things. I'm thinking of all the scenes in Jamaica when they go off to Jamaica as well.
Yes.
I think Nas and DMX, like, I think that was like their first roles, like proper like acting roles, and I think they made a good show of themselves. Yeah, I think generally like it kind of follows that same kind of like, well, this is the kind of mud that a lot of rappers came from as far as like what they were doing in the film and, you know, where they ended up. And I think that captures it kind of to a T. I just think it's a really good film. It's just one of those things you could just put on, you can immediately transport yourself to a time when it was like, what, it was like 98, and you know the culture was already kind of like in a shift post like Biggie and Tupac. This is where it was kind of going. The kind of more glitz, the kind of more glamour sort of thing, and I think Belly does that well, and I think it gets the gritty stuff down really well as well. So yeah, it's a really dope, it's a really dope mix of pretty much everything. So yeah, man, go give it to Belly.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said Belly. It's on my honorable mentions. It's not in my 5. Just full disclosure, we have done like a full-on live watch along of Belly in the calendar somewhere. So we wanted to talk about this anyway. So I'm glad that you brought it. Gang, what takes you got on Belly before I jump in on mine?
Ooh, I mean, I agree. It's a beautiful. I'll say this: it's a stunning fucking visual presentation. I could do without Nas acting ever. You know what I mean? You know, it's a perfect movie to watch on mute after the glow in the dark scene and after the not, you know, Sister Nancy scene and the Soul to Soul scene. You need those. I mean, there's probably other elements I'm forgetting, but like, you know, I think a lot of the story can be edited out, and just like if I could just get like a visual montage, and I'm sure it exists on YouTube, but a visual montage of just like the brilliant moments. Like, one of my favorite moments is two of my favorite moments: the Ox assassination scene where they run up the mansion.
Bravo.
Iconic now, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's been sampled a lot as well in like grime songs.
100%, absolutely. Hear it a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually,
Chiquita the assassin, man. Chiquita the assassin. She's one of the best things in it. She is fucking dope.
That put me back, man. When I saw it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That one.
That was hard. That was dumb hard. And then the Method Man bar shootout where he he sets up the funny looking dude from and
Menace Society.
Yeah, and then so they kind of do that like first person Call of Duty. Like,
Doom kind of thing.
Yeah, Doom, right. Doom, Wolfenstein, all that.
Yeah.
And then he gets shot out once he gets out the club, like he gets the pump to the stomach or whatever. He gets like shot outside of the bar and rolls out into the street, and then all the street lights hit him, and you see that he's wearing like 2 tones of 2 different. I'm a big camo person, so he's got like the 2 mismatched top and bottom camo suit going on, like the loud colors. I think it's got like yellow and maybe red, or I forget what the other color is. Maybe I got the whole shit wrong, but either way, it's mismatched camo, and like he's like stumbling into the street and shit. I think it's just like a very beautiful use of like shade and color and pattern, just like we're, you know, like Hype and whoever else is around him helping, you know, if there is that, you know, there's a lot of like intention in this film exhibited as far as just like the visual, you know, obviously, you know what I'm saying? It certainly wasn't in the writing, but you know what I mean? Like, but and also
it has its strengths.
No, yeah, it has its strengths for sure. There's moments for sure. So yeah, I mean, choreographically, this shit plays out like brilliantly. Like you can have that on as a background while you like are making a beat or like, I don't know, doing whatever you're doing. And the soundtrack is crazy. Like, you know, this come on.
This is what? Like, so this is 1998.
Late
right?
98.
So this is when hip hop is full on blown global takeover. And this is when hip hop doesn't have to change too much to become that. So when you've got the video of Meth and DMX and Ja Rule and I can't remember Jada wasn't. I can't remember who the other person was now. But when you
the hell was the grand finale? DMX, Nas, Method Man, and Ja Rule.
Ja Rule, right? Oh, Nas, that's it. Yeah. So obviously, of course, Nas. So yeah, no, that they're still delivering what they would deliver to hardcore fans and the global masses, and not having to change it up. Do you know what I mean? And I remember that being a massive thing for me, and thinking, oh wow, this is like our bright, shiny, newer hip hop on the big screen, splashed down there, and the guy is just. It's pretty much throwing everything into it. Big up to Hype Williams quickly, because he was a moment, he was a movement, and he has had a legacy. And I remember even reading about that he turned down like Booty Call, like the songs like is it Money Talks, Money Talks, because he specifically said that will not further our culture. So I know even though he's bright and shiny and everywhere in the masses, he does have that heart to it, his work kind of thing. And then you could probably look at it and do what Magic Johnson did, which was like, I'm not going to play any of my Chain of My Cinemas. It's like, you know, fucking negative and all this shit. You can see it that way as well, I suppose. But, you know, that's not the way I looked at it. I'm looking at this as an auteur who's just literally bursting onto the scene at this point. He's putting fucking Gummo on DMX's TV. And I'm like,
That
fuck
was
me, that's
crazy,
Gummo,
right?
bro. Like,
Yeah.
I was a big Harmony fan back then, and I'd watched Kids as well, and I'd seen all this, like that other underground, dark underbelly, like of America kind of film. And it was very like, I know obviously it's indie stuff has blown up at this point as well. So Tarantino, all that stuff, you know, Linklater, they've become massive. But I remember at this point thinking, oh shit, man, this is where our worlds are colliding a little bit. And yeah, I just think if we're going into the acting, fair enough, fair play to you. But for everything you say about Nas not being that great, DMX is fucking perfect in this film.
And
Like,
T-Boz.
and T-Boz. And T-Boz as well, absolutely. But how the rappers actually personify the characters they play in hip-hop. To be fair, I don't think DMX is a character, really, because it is just DMX. So it's nihilism versus optimism, and both do learn from their errors in this film, which I thought was brilliant. But that sincerity of like Nas's character, who's called sincere, I suppose, is like still kind of pertinent. And I didn't mean that pun, but it is there. But like that escapism, you know, from the inner like cities, and you still see that's evident. Kendrick, Cole, all that stuff. You know, you still see that kind of idea evident of that sincere optimism of getting out. But then you also still see the nihilism of DMX and how that is still in stuff in music today as well. And yeah, even like I don't know if it's just hip hop at that time, but like DMX is definitely with a minor, and you're like, holy shit, they just like putting this out there. Like maybe back then it didn't hit as hard, but when rewatching it now, like that girl is a minor and he's just fucking about, and you're like, what is DMX is like? But I don't know, it's kind of uncomfortable, but it's also like that is kind of the world they're portraying, kind of thing.
I mean, look at the soundtrack. Who's first on the soundtrack? Kells.
Oh,
Robert Kelly.
is it?
Not to make this a weird conspiracy thing. I really don't think this is some like weird
no. But it's just the coincidence.
Blood ceremony shit. But yeah.
But there you go. So it's a troubled time maybe as well. But my last point on it before we moved on, or if you guys have anything else to say, was, you know what I really enjoyed about this film was when you were looking at like the pure excess of things, but in between it, like how you get scenes that are kind of still quite universal, and the portrayal of how lethal this life is, of that peer pressure of hanging around with intimidating people, like them two guys who are trying to start off. DMX is under the wing, and then that other guy is in the room as well, and the way he fucking rounds on him and smashes him up in front of these kids, and I was like, fuck, man, in this world that they're portraying, you're constantly on like edge. You don't know when the next thing is coming. I think Belly really hit home how he puts that into the structure of it, where you're like, holy shit, man, like, and the whole escapism, let's go to Africa, where I was like, it's the full continent, Nas. Like what? Like there's no. It feels very simplified. You said that maybe it's the writing or whatever, but I was always a bit more like, it's interesting when you grow older and you read about Malcolm and all these other black rights leaders and their visions of Africa. And in hip hop, it's just like, let's just go to Africa. And it's like, no, but where? Like Africa's a continent of a myriad of different people, and like, will they even accept you? Just because you're black doesn't mean you will be accepted when you go back. There are other things in play. And I remember that hitting me as a kid, and I'm not black, but to hear that from my end, where I'm Asian, if I went back to India, like, no, let's go back to India, and like, they ain't gonna know. I mean, that's a whole different world, bro. Like, I'm not gonna be accepted there. Do you know what I mean? And the way Nas kind of simplifies that, his character simplifies that, always hit me as well. But yeah, I don't know if anyone has any takes on those before we, if there's any of this. But
Yemi, you wanna go?
No, I'm good. Yeah, I mean, you said it to a T, Cam.
Yeah, no, I like that point about how escapism seems possible when you're always in a situation of like you know, you're constantly in a dire, you know, yeah, you're constantly in a dire situation. Like I have friends who live this movie, and you know, like close friends of mine have literally lived this movie to like X's character or whatever, you know, maybe not the minor thing, but you know what I'm saying, but like everything else, and like just being like, yo, why are you know what I mean, like, damn, is it like that? Like, is it gotta be like that for you all the time? Like, you know, where it's like now they're like in their 30s and they're still kind of like, not now, but now they're in their 40s or whatever, but you know, like where we were like getting to late 20s and just like looking at it, like, yo, you don't really have to live your life like that no more, G. Like you've come this far already. Like, you know what this shit leads to, you know, you've gone through a lot of the pitfalls. So like, you know, having to like, there's this like constant sort of like this magnetism to like adding stress in the most simplest of terms. Stress is the most undervaluing kind of way to put it, but like, you know, like you're adding stress to like, you know, you always have to be looking over your back, and like when you're not, it feels fucking weird. Like it feels like something's off, right? So it's just like, then like the idea of like, all right, some utopia has to exist somewhere else, now comes into play, and that's like that's interesting. I like never really thought of it like that, and I'm often you know, yeah, I mean, my own ideas of like what utopia is or what utopia can exist is like pretty null and void or whatever, based on like the realities that I see. But like regardless, I do want to ask two questions to y'all, and Yemi specifically for this one. Who's your favorite of all time?
Nas.
Okay, got you. But not your favorite actor all time.
I plead the fifth on that one now.
You don't have to, you know.
Yeah, I'm joking. No, not at all. Not even my favorite hip hop film actor. So yeah.
Right. Can we talk about the soundtrack, and more so just really quickly, just like this, I just want to highlight the second half of the soundtrack, stopping before the last song. Like before the Braveheart song, we could stop. But yo, like I would say from track 10, Crew Love. Also, like all these, most of these songs were not on any albums. These were all, most of these songs were soundtrack only. Sometimes ended up on Nori's second album,
Windpipe.
But Windpipe, when that was when we were thirsty for more Ghostface. You know, that was like post Iron Man, post Wu-Tang Forever. So we heard him in like this maximal super Saiyan Ghostface form. RZA was still making good beats. You know,
and ODB's on there.
Yeah, Old Dirty's on there going crazy. Pre-game with Sauce Money and Jay. Tommy's theme. One of those like iconic back and forth from the Lox or Styles and Kiss. You know, $500,000, Rest in Power. That song was like a big like mixtape. Like that instrumental plays and people like somehow know it. It's kind of like the Tribe by 12 East Flatbush joint, where it's just like put it on and people are like, oh, somehow I've heard this. They might not know the original song. They might not know who $500,000 is, but and he bodies that shit. $500,000 was super dope. You know,
this is a great shout. I've not heard this soundtrack in so long. I need to go back now.
Crew Love, like Beanie's verse on that shit. Oh my god, that showed us the power. Like that showed us the power more than I think this came out.
The Truth.
It came out before The Truth, I believe.
Oh, okay.
It was like Adrenaline, or The Roots Adrenaline.
It did come up before The Truth. Yes, it did. Yeah.
The Roots Adrenaline off of Things Fall Apart. And
that was 99.
And and I guess Crew Love was what a lot of us were, how a lot of us were first exposed to Beans, who weren't in Philly or who weren't on the mixtape shit when, he was fucking with like Philly's Most Wanted or Major. I guess he was fucking with Major Figures for 1 second, or maybe not. Maybe they always had beef. Anyway, point being, fucking incredible. God damn it.
Devil's Pie, bro. Come on.
Oh yeah. No, Devil's Pie.
Come on, mate. Grand finale. I mean, we talk about it, but yeah.
Maya and Raekwon and Nori, such a
I know. What? I don't remember that song, the Maya Raekwon. There's a Sparkle song on here. I can't remember either. What about?
Ray goes crazy on that. Ray goes crazy.
Ray goes crazy all the time, bro. Like, we need to all learn this now. Like, he's the most consistent. I've put this out there before, but for me, he's the most consistent rapper. Like, I can't think of one bad.
Whatever, like button.
I don't know what people say, but for me, yeah, unbelievable. Ray. Okay, right then. Let's jump into the next one. What we got here? Osman, we need the Belly Pod released. I will do it for you boys. I will. I like to think that Walter. Wallethead and Big Oogie played extras in Belly. Yeah, Wallethead, of course. Good shout. I was going to say I don't remember that one. Also, I've never heard of Belly. We'll have to look this up, says Aaron. Big up, man. Go check that, man. It is a cultural milestone, I would say. Imagine if Yemi had said Ja Rule for the best actor. I hope not. I don't think so. Or greatest even. That would have been too much. I think we'd have to have
that's Mo's department. Mo he does rhymes like that with me, and he loves Ja Rule. Like,
is it?
If I release the tapes and show you the amount of times he's actually just burst into a Ja Rule song before we start recording.
Wow. Got a Veni Veti Vici tattoo. That's amazing. It's incredible. Big up Mo there. Big up Mo. So, gang, man, let's do this then. What else you got, man? What's your next one?
Okay, my next one. Let's go to. All right, I'm gonna jump to actually a year earlier than Fresh, I believe, 1993. Who's the Man?
Oh,
Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, the Long Island Dr. Dre.
Right.
It's a I guess a comedy. It's like kind of like a cop film or something, but like
it's a buddy cop film.
And it stars I think
potentially
the most up to that point, the most rapper cameos, like more than Juice, and Juice was 92, so Juice, like, it was further capitalizing on the idea that, like, yes, all of our friends could be actors too. They don't just have to be rappers. They can get that little what's that? What's the movie organization? Damn, the Actors Union shit. They can get a little check.
The Guild.
Screenwriters Guild, right?
Yeah.
So they can get a little like credit. I mean, shit. The cast is Dr. Dre, Ed Lover, Salt is in it, Bernie Mac is in it. But
Bernie Mac's in this.
Guru, Ice-T.
This cast is stacked.
Yeah,
mate,
Guru, Ice-T, motherfucking Be Real, Apache, Bill Bellamy.
Del the Funky Homo Sapiens in this.
Yeah, T. Ali, CL Smooth, Danny Boy, D Nice, DJ Lethal, Drez, Eric B, Everlast.
That's the rhymes.
Yeah. Terrence Howard makes his film debut. Come on, bro. This is. I need to watch this film, bro. I have not seen this film.
Heavy D, rest in power. You know what I mean?
Big
King's
up.
Son, fucking Crisscross, Leaders of the New School, Lin Q. Like, Moni Love, who's in also, I believe, was in. I don't know if she's in Juice, but she's in the other movie that came out this year that also had a good amount of rappers as cameo.
I know.
Cast was Strapped.
Strapped. That's it. Yeah. Strapped. Yeah.
Going live or whatever. And not as many as Who's the Man. Who's the Man is like, it has Showbiz and AG. It has motherfucking
Showbiz and AG. Wow.
Yo and Smooth B. Come on, it has Scottie Pippen.
Pete Rock plays a robber. Scottie Pippen. Penny Hardaway.
He's got Penny and Scottie
Pippen.
Pippen.
Stretch is in this.
Yeah. Stretch. I believe. I don't know if it's Stretch. I think it's.
It's the different Stretch. Is it? Okay. Right.
Tupac's boy. Stretch,
Oh,
not
Stretch. Oh, I know it's Stretch. Yeah.
not
Roger
Stretch,
Ebert gave this a favorable review with 3 out of 4. Go on, Rog. And I do rate Roger, and that is fucking banging, man. And do you know what? This sounds. I mean, you don't even say anything else. Dennis Leary plays. This is fucking
yeah,
crazy.
Dennis Leary, yo. That's the era of Dennis Leary. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Shit.
All right, so
Okay.
to further make my case, and this is like this is like so like Fresh was like one side, this is the other extreme. You
Right.
know, you
Right.
have rappers all in throughout, whatever. And then you also have the soundtrack. Now, the soundtrack is crazy because one, it has the first track on there is B.I.G. Party and Bullshit, Big's debut, from what I understand.
Mhm.
First time we ever heard Big, right? It's just like how Zebra had the first had halftime.
Halftime. Yeah.
Nas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before the Illmatic rollout really began. You know, got Jodeci. Let me just see
Bro,
something
this
real quick.
soundtrack's ridiculous.
Real quick. There's some crazy
Father
there's some crazy.
MC's on here. Go on,
I
man.
so
Would
busted. So,
you Banton?
yeah.
Buju
Yeah.
Banton's on there. Come hotness. Let's do this.
Heavy D, yo, because Heavy D got the crazy patois game. Like Heavy D can there's videos of Heavy D on stage with I think Super Cat, and like he's just going off. Like, I mean, he's, you know, the Raga style, like that was the Jeep beats with the dance hall like combined. That was this era, 93, 92 to 94 or 5. Just like how it was happening with R&B with like Mary J and Miss Jones and folks like that. But yo, P Rock and CL Smooth, that song is crazy. Eric Sermon hitting Switches, which was a banger that became,
remember that
going off in his album. House of Pain has the Who's the Man title track.
Yeah.
So this is crazy right here.
Group Home are on here. What the fuck? Shit.
Group Home with Third Eye, who is otherwise known as the other verse aside from Big and Puff on the Super Cat Dolly My Baby remix.
That is a deep pull, gang. I'm loving this. This is great.
He went and did some shit with Nine later on and shit.
Oh, okay.
So and you
Interesting.
see
That's different.
in the credits, Jesse West, who and Lord Finesse produced that Group Home and Third Eye joint, and Jesse West went and produced most of Nine stuff.
Right. Okay.
So
I got
connection.
you.
I feel like Third Eye's from like either Mount Vernon or the Bronx or Yonkers or something, somewhere up north, northern New York City.
Right.
And then all right, so bust this. Timbo King from Royal Fam, Wu-Tang is on there. You know, fucking Crystal J. Johnson, who sang on Mobb Deep's Temperatures Rising.
Temperatures Rising, yes, bro, of course.
And she is she's either the niece or the daughter to a cat. The cat who, oh shit, I actually gotta go look this up. But peep this though. While I'm talking about that, peep this. The Father MC track has credits by Butt Naked Tim Dog. I'm believing that's Tim Dog from Ultra Mag.
Right.
We have Co Cheeks, aka that's Mr. Cheeks. So this Father MC song was written by mixed by Tim Dog. Maybe he's, I don't know, his credits are a little shaky here, but like the lyrics written by Tim Dog, a young Mr. Cheeks before he was named Mr. Cheeks, Father MC, and someone named J-Z.
What?
Sean Carter. So you have Mr. Cheeks, Jay-Z, and Tim Dog writing the Father MC song, which is crazy.
What? This is do you know when you think you've done, so we've done about 150 episodes here of 90s hip hop. I've never even heard of this film. I don't think. I think I remember the poster. I remember the poster, really colourful, cops on the cover. I remember that, but I don't even remember the soundtrack. I don't remember watching this. I had to go. Yemi, have you heard of this film?
Never heard of this film either.
I'm loving this pull, right? Yeah,
it's a lot of heritage on this one here. Oh my days. That's like Jay-Z when he was still trying to sign out the Futurenikins. Crazy.
Yeah. No, absolutely. 93, like he's fast rapping. He's still kind of like taking off the Hawaiian Sophie shirt and all that. So
but the film itself is definitely like, I know these cameos have got me in anyway, but for the layman,
it's fun. It's good. You're gonna have fun watching the film because it's literally like, oh shit, oh shit. It's like it's a Where's Waldo of rap, you
Yeah.
know, of like
Yeah.
I guess golden era, quote unquote, golden era rap. You know what I mean? Queen Latifah's in it. Like, come on, G. Like,
Yeah.
it's everyone who's in Juice basically, except minus Pac, but Humpty's in it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, like, you
Wow.
get that
Wow.
digital underground origin story shit there. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
Yo,
Amazing.
and so boom, Crystal J. Johnson is related to Samuel Jonathan Johnson,
Mhm.
who Alchemist sampled and flipped for "We Gonna Make It."
No way.
It's a song called "My Music," and it's a beautiful fucking song. So, and it's ill. Like, I think I found out in the YouTube comments, and Crystal Johnson was like, "Yo, that's my
Oh
uncle or whatever," and I
shit.
was like, "Oh, that's crazy. It runs in
That
the
is a
family. I see."
flip. That is a
So
I'm
yeah.
gonna
huge
tell my
old
missus.
flip.
I'm gonna tell my missus that one. Her favorite song is "We Gonna Make It."
Oh,
Oh,
boom. Look at this.
oh, put that Samuel Johnson joint on "My Music," right? Put that
Yeah, don't
on
even
and just
tell her. Just
don't
put
even
it
tell
on
her.
and just see
She's
what
gonna
happens.
when that shit drops, it's ill. It's beautiful. It's not in the
Sick.
beginning. It's somewhere in the thick of it. So yeah,
This is beautiful.
that's
This is great. I love
there
learning,
we
bro,
go.
and I'm here for it.
Yeah, for
So
real.
yeah, who's the
I
man?
love
Love this.
I love sharing. So here we are.
So it works. So it works. Wicked,
Word.
man. Let's see what else we've got in the chat before we move into my next one. Sankofa, big Sag. Of course, we talked about Sag just now. Your career will be short as my part in Who's the Man,
Who's the
says
man?
KRS
Yeah.
One. Boom, boom,
From the
Sankofa. Love that,
D&D
Paul.
All Stars. D&D All Stars. Word.
Yeah. Steve
Mhm.
Piper, I picked up the Who's the Man soundtrack last month from a friend's store for the collection. Good shout. Okay, love this. Osman, speaking of group home, what happened to Absolute? He has a great feature on the Living Proof, but didn't have much. Didn't hear much from him after that. I do not know. Good shout. Sankofa, who became what became of the Brain Sick mob? No
Yeah.
idea.
I feel like that refers to I think Absolute was part of Brain Sick, maybe, but
Right.
either way, they were all because the Realness had Absolute, and I believe the members or other members of Brain Sick Mob. The last song
Nice.
on Living Proof, that song is crazy.
Okay. Steve Piper, the sample for Who We Gonna Make It is tiny, about 3 minutes in. There you go, people. Boom. Get in there, you sample diggers. Love it. So look at all this. This is love this. Right, my next one then. I'm going to take it from the US, the home of hip hop, and transport it to a global audience, and specifically Europe. And I'm going with one of the most mind-blowing films in my life, right up there with Spike Lee's Malcolm X. I still watch it to this day. I've got it on like Blu-ray, 4K, all that shit. I'm looking to get a Japanese poster for the wall. I'm going 1995's La Haine. Now, La Haine,
Yes.
right? La Haine, Matthew Kosovitz, he didn't need to do much more after this. I think it's one of them moments where everything crystallized at a moment for this guy who, from all I gather, was very, instead of your Truffauts and your French New Wave and all that, he was more the Spike Lee, the Spielberg, more Scorsese, that kind of filmmaking. And to see, I'll just give you my idea. When I first watched La Haine, was deep into my hip hop. It is late at night, about to go to bed, and I see a BBC Two advert. I think I was watching some BBC Two sketch show or something. I was about to turn it over. This advert came on, and it was a guy just spinning black and white, and the beat to Represent started coming on. Nas's Represent, and that's my favorite Nas track. So I immediately stopped what I was doing, and I was just captivated for about 30 seconds, and it was just shots from La Haine to the soundtrack of Represent, and it's forever emblazoned in my mind as a moment where I went, because it said coming on Monday 10 p.m, just getting the old VHS timer record thing, bang, getting a blank tape, bang, getting that all, and thinking to myself, this is like a watershed moment for me. And I think where hip hop was at that point for me was so far away. It was so American and so alien to the way I was living. I'm not saying La Haine was the way I was living, but this is now happening in Europe. And this is now, and I'm not saying it's entirely a hip hop film, but hip hop is at the very heart and soul of it for me. And it just happens to be on our European shores this time. And I think hip hop meeting world cinema. I'm a big world cinema fan anyway. I just have grown up like that anyway. And to see it in all its glorious fucking fury, resistance, the sound of this film is, well, if you look at the soundtrack, it's French hip hop. It's killing it on the French hip hop tip. And at that point, I remember getting to I Am and MC Solar, and these were things from Hip Hop Connection. I was getting more than the source. Those are my two real places to get hip hop recommendations for where I was. Or Westwood, he's never played any French hip hop, so it was always that. Hip Hop Connection had a lot of this French kind of look, and German, and I never really knew much about. I didn't know Germany had a massive hip hop scene, you know what I mean? And so it was eye opening on that level as well. And I think if you look at like the shot selection, the edits, the fucking characters, and the loose plot, the absolutely loose plot, where I'm just open to this as a kid, you know, this is a young age where I'm like, what the fuck? This is, yeah. And I think it was a real tangible moment for hip hop as well. Like 95, hip hop is kind of become quite big at this point. I can see it like kind of on screen with the rap beefs and the media coverage, good and bad and whatever. And I just thought, yeah, man, I just remember watching it, and the straight from the first shot, just the firebomb hitting the earth, and then it talking about these kids who, there's a guy who will just put on, DJ Cut Killer will just get up there and just do this ridiculous set with a Cypress Hill shirt on, which are one of my favorite groups of all time and need to be loved more. Generally, I feel they should be more on the forefront when people say what's the best group. I think they need to be more at the forefront of that conversation. But yeah, man, I just thought the DNA of that was just, yeah, like amazing, because these guys aren't wearing your Tims. I know you're really into your like kind of fashion and iconography and like kind of uniform, maybe, for a better term. I can't think of a better term for it, but like this was ours. This was more the kids on my estate. This was more the kids who are a bit more rough around the edges from where we are. They're wearing them full on Kappa tops, their Kappa tracksuits, the full on the less tracksuits. They're not baggy, it's thin lined. Vince Cassell is a fucking force to be reckoned with, and on this. And then I think Kasovitz got a Assassin to help do the soundtrack, who are a rap collective, and I hear that Vince Cassell's brother was in that collective of some sort, and I was like, I did not know that's how at home it was. And yeah, just for me, just an incredible film. And I think that yeah, as I said, music's embedded in it. Like, it's, although the score is very different, but you can just get the feel for it. And that Cut Killer scene with the bird's eye view, and what is it? So it's KRS-One going into Edith Piaf, and you're like, what is this? Like, you are just taking hip hop to somewhere I've never heard it. You know, this is way before I'd heard Shadow or like Format or anyone like that do stuff like that. So yeah, man, Haine there, right up there for me. You boys, what have you got?
I mean, I've never watched it, but I've seen you tweet about it a few times, and you've now convinced me to write it down. So
I think you'd love it. I know you. I kind of know the films you kind of like, and I think that there's so much. You could see it as like a day in the life of a tragic circumstance in France, where it's about to fucking blow. Like, it is like really tense in that country. It's got the police violating people's rights. It's got these three kids who, you know, just going about their day. But you can also see it, and I was watching a video essay on and someone really put it really beautifully about how a lot of the feeling of it is about insignificance, about a lot of the feeling of Haine is being so small on this massive planet. But this culture of 90s hip hop, I feel, makes them feel a bit more like they belong to something, or like this hip hop kind of ethos, maybe. And yeah, Yemi, I reckon you'll really get a lot out of it, man.
You definitely will fuck with it. You definitely will fuck with it.
What are you saying, gang?
Incredible movie. No, it's like, what, as soon as you said international, I was like, oh, like it just popped in. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, the first thing I think about when I it was one of the first French films someone had recommended me when I was, you know, in my late teens or whatever. And it was just like, yo, you gotta see Haine. I was like, all right, word. And, you know, ever since then, it's sort of lived and had other lives once the internet kind of kicked in, and especially Tumblr, where like things were very image forward, and people were curating like, you know, things with like strong images, or like, so like, you know, my like, yeah, a big part for me is like fashion, a big part, because I think fashion is a very vital part of culture, is any culture, you know what I'm saying? So like, you know, I was having conversations where like, I was having a conversation recently about like, you know, how folks, since the internet came in, it's fashion has kind of gotten very fluid, and you know, a lot of the hybrid stuff is cool, like people taking notes from all these other spots, and how there's like this, not just a single channel, like it's not just like, okay, like we're all wearing slim fit now, we're all wearing baggy now, we're all wearing so-called Americana, whatever, like workwear, whatever. Whereas like back when, things move slower, information moves slower, because the internet wasn't just like a omnipresent force of kind of flattening lines, you know what I mean? Or flattening culture, so to speak, into like this commodity, into this thing that you could buy. Like, oh, I can go on eBay and get like a bunch of vintage polo, and now I'm a low life all of a sudden, or whatever. It's like, nah, like that's a whole lifestyle. Like you have to know what boosting is, and you had to have boosted, and you have had to like kind of like lived in an environment where like you will get tested for that in order to I think claim that. Me personally, like knowing low lives, like they don't, you know, it's like all right, like you kids have something completely different, but like you know what I mean, like you're not the same thing, like this can't be the same thing. And it goes in, you know, like I come from the era where people were getting robbed for their backpacks. Like you had a JanSport, like you come into school and you know, tomorrow with a shopping bag because you got robbed of your backpack. You know what I mean? Or like people getting robbed for fucking little Nautica logo, zipper logo that they would put on their backpack. And it's just like, you might get, you know, you might come through with $150 off of that, like a face cut off of that, just because like you didn't give it up or whatever. So my point being is like, it's a communication. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
fashion is how we communicate and sort of like signal toward each other or whatever, certain things about our lifestyle, whether it be true or false, right? So with La Haine, though, I think it's so similar to like, you know, Belly and certain, and there's runner-up movies I can like mention as far as like, okay, the fashion in this movie was done right. Like I think Juice fashion-wise was done right, and that relates to, I'm going to relate to this because in La Haine, like when I was seeing images of La Haine pop up on like Tumblr and whatnot, you see all these images of like the shearling leather, you know what I'm saying, with the camo pants, and you know, the track jackets, and then the, you know, Son's low cut kind of like semi-baldy, you know what I mean?
And,
the
boxer,
and the Carhartt beanie,
yes,
you know, things of that nature. Like that was like a specific thing, like subverting or like reinterpreting like workwear and military wear, what is the most hip-hop shit. The same thing as like that lamppost right there. That's going to be the life of the party, because that thing is going to give us power. That's going to give this sound system power, you know what I'm saying? Like so we can rock a block right now.
There's a war going on outside. That's the whole camo. That's always related to that for me.
Yeah, so you have more pockets to stash shit, you have more pockets to carry things, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing, you can like, and we can go on days and days on this shit, but like I think it's like, I think that's what makes this even more qualified as to be in this sort of like conversation, because like there is such a eye for like, just like how I think like Belly has like this like nuanced and precise take on like certain elements of like what fashion and visual like representation mean to a culture. I think this does a lot of the same, you know what I'm saying, from like a different part of the world. But like, yo, that Carhartt shit came from the early, like the 92, 93 era, you know, New York, East Coast shit over here. It wasn't, you know, Dickies was West Coast shit, right? You look at the youngsters. Look at them with Tretch, like rocking like big ass, like super big, you know, Carhartt vest, whole Carhartt suit with 40 below Timbs and whatnot. Like, you know, Carhartt was just like Timberland, just like you know, climbing gear, like, you know, outdoor gear, like North Face and all that stuff, like that all comes from folks flipping that and you know, a utilitarian sense of like, all right, like this is going to be useful, it's going to be functional, and
Yeah.
and I'm going to make it fly.
I don't know exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
And the way that film takes how you guys did all that and makes it European just by being
right.
here and them kind of representing themselves and expressing themselves through it is just a fascinating thing. And it's the same issues, right? It's just, it's not always the same issues, but it has like similar issues of. And I remember, I think it was at Cannes Film Festival that it was controversial because the police who were there turned their backs on the director when he turned up because they see it as anti-police and stuff like that.
Right.
And if you watch it, you could see that. Absolutely, you could see that. But remember, this is 1995 in France, in Paris, man. This is not an easy thing, but it's not an easy thing to untangle. There's a lot of shit going on in France at that time. Not that I have, like, you know, I have no expertise on that, but just to see this film, it shows how complicated it is and how it goes to the bourgeoisie, from the ghetto, from the ghetto, you know, where they live, to, you know, the guy in the. We talked about the music as well, but yeah, man, I think it's great. I think just to cap it before we get to the next one, that shot, I always love the way they're standing in Paris. Yeah, you'll love this when you see it. It's just so beautiful. They're just standing on this kind of balcony, and he zooms out but focuses in on them three with the traffic of the city. And it always moves me, man. It's like, I don't even think they're saying anything. I don't think there's any music. It's just the city sound. And it's just that one little shot where I'm like, Matthew Kasovitz, whatever you are on at this point, bro, it is unbelievable. And he's like, he's one shots through stuff and just, yeah, really high technical. But yeah, man, Haine, there we go. I'm glad we got that one in there. Yeah.
Poetry on screen.
That's it. Exactly, bro. Let's see what people are saying then before we get into Yemi's next one. So what we got here? Let's have a look here. East New York theory, but Brain Sick Bob. They're talking about Brain Sick Bob again. I teach Lahaine to my level French class, says Aaron. Boom. Aaron, you are a teacher who is spreading the right word. I love that. Steve Piper, Lahaine is great. The scene with DJ Cutco is legendary. Absolutely is. Lahaine is perfect, says Jack P. I've got 2 tattoos based on it. So far, so good in French. And a cow. Jack P, that is amazing. That surreal moment. Again, I don't want to ruin things for Yemi. He hasn't watched it, but the cow moment is fucking, yeah, so surreal. Yeah, fair play to you. It was actually shot in colour, says Aaron. I heard that. And I must be getting old because I remember when Carhartt didn't cost an arm and a leg to pick up. Yeah, Steve, right. I feel that. I
want to go back to those times, even though I was like one.
Right. No, and that's another element of it, right? Where it was like this is all accessible. This is not like expensive. Not all of this is expensive gear. Like,
exactly.
You don't necessarily have to go on a boosting mission to get it. You know what I'm saying? Polo was expensive and kind of always was. So that's why I was like, all right, like we're gonna go and do a rush through Macy's or through, you know, wherever, Bloomingdale's or whatever it was. Whereas like, okay, like this is functional, doesn't cost much, and I can, like, you know, I can get new gear to do whatever I need to do in. So that's, you know, that's where all that like military surplus, Carhartt workwear shit comes in. You know what I mean?
That's it. Absolutely, man. So Yemi, my man. So you've done 3?
3, yeah.
Right. This is a long one. This is going to get into a 3-parter, I feel. This is the redux. But no, let's go, Yemi. What have you got, my man?
All right. So for this one, I was torn between 2 because they're from the same franchise.
Interesting.
It's basically between Friday and Next Friday.
Now, how's this a question, Yemi?
Come on. The reason why it's a question, and I will explain,
right,
is because I actually watched Next Friday first when I was like, I'll never forget. I was because I've got some family in New York. And it was around like 2005. Me and my brother went there, and we were in Bed-Stuy. And one night, we just put on Next Friday, and I'd never known, like, I'd never heard of it, nothing. I must have been like 13. And I just remember like loving the film, laughing my ass off pretty much from beginning to end, and just being like, this is my new favorite film. And then maybe it's a year or so later, I might have watched Friday for the first time, and didn't move me as much because I wasn't laughing as much because obviously I watched Next Friday first and I thought, okay, this is what they're
Right.
on, the kind of narrative that they're doing.
I feel you.
But as I've gotten older, the gloss around Next Friday has kind of worn off, and my appreciation of Friday has grown. So today, I'm saying Friday.
Okay. I'm kind of
Right.
glad, man, because I understand the personal context to it. I do, but put it over Friday. Yeah, but I think that's interesting though, because yeah, that must screw it all up. Because I can't remember. There must be a lot of references to the first one in the second one that you're picking up when you're watching the second one, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And with Friday, I just feel like the story of Friday, like it's a very simple story, obviously,
Mm,
but it's done so well. Like, how can you
yeah,
get fired on the day off? That's just something that, that
you gotta be a
that
stupid
line,
motherfucker.
that line is better than anything on Next Friday. But now I know that because I've gotten older, I understand it now. It's just so
Hmm.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Um, Ice
yeah.
Cube does a great job. Chris Tucker, great job. John Witherspoon, great job.
Mm.
Ezel, like Ezel is the prototypical crackhead now. Like, we know when you think of crackheads, you think of Ezel.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
man. I mean, I just Debo, like everybody just does their bit, man. Nia Long. I mean, hey, hip hop and
Stay
Nia Long.
along.
I mean, hip hop and Nia Long. I mean, we'll be
Come
here
on.
for another hours if we start going on about that. But yeah, man, I just think it's a dope film, man. I think even though like it's set in like the kind of places where a lot of stuff probably would pop off, like South
Mhm.
Central, like that kind of boys in the hood type of thing. I
Mm.
feel like they kind of flip it on its head in a sense. Like obviously there is that lingering threat because obviously
Mhm.
Big Worm and stuff, but
Big perm, mate.
big pun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's done really well, and I think I came out of it the first time, especially just like being so relieved for Craig, just because
Yeah.
he stood up to Debo, he got the girl in the end, and even though he was an idiot from the start when he got found on his day off, he kind of redeemed himself in a sense. So his
Yeah.
kind of character arc, was really dope.
Mm.
Smokey. I mean, what can we say
Smoky.
about Smokey? Smokey's just Smokey. You didn't put
Yeah.
E on this man. Like it's just the Bernie Mac cameo. Like, I
Oh,
mean,
come on. 2020, 20.
yeah, man, Miss Parker. There's just too many
Parker.
moments. There's just too many. There's just too many moments, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know if you want to class it as like a stoner film or anything, but that's
I
the
think
first
it
film.
is.
Yeah.
I think it's for me the best hip hop stoner film if we're doing a subgenre of this subgenre, because How High is amazing, but to be fair, it's very rewatchable as well. I suppose it's a closer call than I would give it, but if you're looking at it just in the stoner film kind of prism, I think this is it's an archetypal stoner guy as well. The worst drug dealer in the world, literally getting high off his own supply. Like, what are you doing, bro? And always made you think if you smoke, always check for that angel dust, and like, oh, just be careful of angel
Mm.
dust because you don't know if you start spazzing what's going to happen. There are some troubling I suppose there's troubling things about most people in this film, but there is that troubling kind of idea of what Latinos are in this hip hop genre, hip hop kind of sphere, I suppose, looking at it in a more modern lens. But back then I didn't see that, and now I'm like looking at it, thinking, yeah, maybe that's a bit troublesome. But I think
Mm.
the what you alluded to there, Yemi, in your breakdown, excellent breakdown, by the way, is that the plot is obviously very loose. It's a day in the life, whatever. And there is a beginning, middle, and end, obviously. It's the characters, man. The characters make this film a classic. The iconic moments come through these characters, and the contrast, the sheer contrast between Cube and Tucker is
Mm.
brilliant. You got Cube, who somehow has shed that snarl. I grew up with Cube. Oh, and I know 22 Jump Street, 21 Jump Street has took the mick out of the snarl, and like the look, the Cube angry look, and I get that. But this is him getting rid of that and on the path towards, are we there yet? This is the guy who's kind of, oh right, this is the path you're leading to. And remember, before this, I've seen him as Doughboy, and Doughboy is Cube to me in 1995. There is no other Cube. Like, Natural Born Killers, that's my Cube at this point. And when he's in this, I'm like, oh shit, he's like, I'm not saying he's great at comedy, because one of my, and we have a segment on this show called Larry Letdown Moments, where you love a guy, and sometimes I just let you down. And my biggest Larry letdown moments in hip hop film history is Tucker delivering, when they wrote this line down, I'm going to get you high today, they must have been in writing going, that's the tease, that's on the poster, that's what we're going to put in the trailer. The following acting from Cube, as soon as he does it, where he doesn't know how to, I just keep thinking, just edit that, cut away to something else. They stay on, and he's got to carry the aftershock of this amazingly iconic delivery. And he just goes, anyway, and oh my God, it hurts me every time. I'm like, Cube, man, you are letting me down here, bro. Like, I don't know. I just had to put that out there because it is a perfect film, but there is little imperfections that get me as well. But yeah,
it
no,
makes it as well. And I think one thing I really appreciate that, and I haven't actually tried, but I probably will one day if I'm ever in Dire Straits. Like when Smokey is counting the money in front of Big Worm and then he flips it and he thinks it's like double the amount. Like that to me is like, that's just so clever. Obviously, like Big Worm's too smart for that, but bro, to anyone with even a little less intelligence, they might have fell for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I go to you, Gang, I've got to say one thing as well. When I watch it now, it does hit me where I'm like, this is only like 3 years after the LA riots, man. I know it's a long time, but it's also not a long time. Like, a lot of shit was going down in LA. Like, and then they do this portrayal where there's hardly any police. I don't think there's any white people in it. Are there any white people in this film? I don't even know if there are. But it's kind of nice that you have this film where all the dislikable characters, all the likable characters are in this community, and they're having to realize how to deal with them and not have to these other external factors. It's almost like they're not about that external overreaching kind of look at LA. This is more their day in the life, which it literally is, I suppose. And that Tucker performance is at the heart of it. It reminded me, I don't know, there's this real Jim Carrey energy I got as a kid watching it. I'm not sure it's still there now because Tucker's kind of himself, a different thing. But I remember at the time thinking, God, his elasticity is so, like, the way he walks, the way he talks, the way, his facial expressions. It's just, just incredible.
Kinetic one. It's kinetic. Yeah. Especially that early era of Chris Tucker as well. Like Jackie Brown as well. Like,
Jackie Brown, of course. Fuck yeah, great Paul. Jackie Brown, absolutely. Gang, what are you saying to Friday, man?
It's a solid, I don't really have much to say to add on. Like, I think y'all covered it really.
Big up Regina King.
Big up Regina King, fact. And also, Richard Pryor energy. Chris Tucker also has like some Richard Pryor, like manic, caricature of oneself kind of energy. Jim Carrey made that popular around that time, but before that there was Pryor, you know what I'm saying? So there was Pryor, you know what I mean? So
good
hey, so that's my 2 cents. But and there's some joints on the soundtrack as well. There's some joints.
Yes, I was about to say, keep their heads ringing.
Boom.
That is my tune, man. That is like summer. Like, I mean, I've never been to like LA or anything, but summertime, late summertime, roof down.
Yeah,
can't get it out. Palm trees.
In our family, it's one of them ones. Whenever we get together, we said Diwali last week, and even with that, bang, Keep the Heads Ringing comes on, and it's like everyone knows that, from the kids to
that's crazy.
Kids to the olders. Do you know what I mean? Like 15-year-old kids, they know that, and to this, and you're like, shit, man, this is. I suppose that can be said for the film, to be fair, because I think there's moments that even. I think my most used GIF on DMs is "You ain't got to lie, Craig," and it literally is like my mate will say something simple, but "You ain't got to lie, mate," and I don't know, it's so funny still. But funny thing is, I'm doing that with my, and I know I talked about a lot about my younger siblings, and you probably see how much that means to me is lineage and like kind of passing on of the knowledge kind of thing. Fifth pillar of hip hop. So yeah, got to do it. You go on, bro. We all know this, no, I think this is one of the films where. I think I was with them the other day. What should we put on? Cam, what have you got? And the few things, House Party is one of them for our family, but Friday, it just happens to be, it's put Friday on. And that everyone is happy, and so it's a cultural touchstone. Absolutely, man.
Shout out Joy. Shout out Joy.
Shout out Joy. Shout out Joy. Absolutely. Shout out Joy. So what we got in the chat, let's see what we've got going on. Here we go. Osman, not too long ago, I woke up early and had some toast and tea and pot on Friday. Gave me such a warm, nostalgic feeling. Did you have cereal with water? I'd like to know that. Absolutely. I reenacted Smokey's character in school assembly once. What? This is amazing. It was literally him getting robbed by Debo. The theme was appreciation. And I think no idea where the connection was, though. That, wow, appreciation for your own, for what you've got before someone robs you, I suppose, is where you could go. I feel like the Ice Cube Cypress beef, yeah, it was started because Q ripped off the title song Phrase Set. He did, yeah. I have gone to a few Cypress Hill episodes, and apparently that's where it came from. Phrase Set in the air, absolutely. But yeah, that soundtrack, absolutely sick. So whose go is it? Is it Gang's go? No, who's next? Is it Gang? Yeah.
I guess it's mine.
Yeah, let's do this, man. I did Haine. Yeah. So
okay.
what you got?
Facts. So number 3 for me. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna go Ghost Dog.
Oh.
I'm gonna go Ghost Dog.
Okay.
Jim Jarmusch directed, starring Forrest Whitaker as a. I'm gonna keep it brief because time is a ticking. And,
absolutely, yeah.
And there's not really much else to say, but like it's about a black samurai going to war with the Italian mob in Jersey, and he catches bodies, and it's like peak Jarmusch, like oddball, or like what's the word, like off kilterness,
off kilterness. That's a good way of putting it.
So like storytelling, like he has a very keen, for lack of a better term, like eye to just details that most folks wouldn't key in on, so to speak. You know what I mean? Just to, I love the unconventional hero that Forrest Whitaker and action hero, if we talk about like a martial arts idea or tradition that like Forrest Whitaker fulfills in this movie, because like Forrest Whitaker isn't, by any means DMX. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not Jet Li. He's not, you know what I'm saying? He's not he's not even Denzel, you know what I mean, at that point. But that doesn't matter in this story, and that doesn't matter in this world, and that doesn't matter to the idea of like honoring like a samurai tradition, or like a Japanese like swordsman tradition of like you and your weapon. And he's got this ill like kind of like Mike Tyson thing where he has like the pigeons on the rooftop.
Yes, he does.
And it's just it's a movie that like I learned to love later on. Like at first I was like, I was kind of perplexed. And I was younger. I was in high school when it came out, and I was just like, okay, like, But I got into the soundtrack because it's all Wu-Tang.
RZA.
RZA did the soundtrack, right? So, and there's 2 versions of the soundtrack. A friend of mine got me the Japanese version, which is all the score from the movie. So it's all like, it's a lot of like RZA instrumentals that he used in the movie, and a couple like cuts, like Wu-Tang cuts that were on soundtrack only. And then the US version had more like conventional songs. It had a joint Cakes, RZA, and Cool G rap. It's crazy. There's a video for that. It's pretty wild. It had this like Wu-Tang like dance hall kind of joint by Sugar Band. Shit's hard. That shit's crazy.
That's crazy. I don't think I've heard that. Right.
Yeah, that joint is hard. Over Al Green. It's Al Green loop. There's this mean rest in power to another Far Rock legend, Lord Superb, who most people know from Supreme Clientele, but his hardest verse to me is off of the Ghost Dog soundtrack. It's a joint with he and Master Killer.
The Man.
And the Man. And the beat is crazy. Like the RZA beat is like twisted, and Superb is just going off, and like kind of like giving all these like principles on, but just in a very like, he was like off kilter. Like he was kind of like, you don't know where he's gonna land his rhyme and all that stuff. So very like kind of like whimsical like vocal tones and whatnot too. So there's a joint with they flip, like RZA reflips the shadow boxing sample and like speeds it up,
right,
and they lay some like little melodic, like harmonic things over it. And that becomes a backdrop for Dirty, Meth, and I forget if anyone is on there, but it's pretty wild. And that's on both the versions of the soundtrack. So that's one you're going to get regardless.
Love that.
But yeah, beautiful fucking, like, really beautiful movie. Like I've watched it in the theater. I've had the that privilege to like see it on the big screen later on, like a couple years ago. And yeah, it's just a ill movie. And there's some cool cameos. RZA's obviously in it. Timbo King, I think, is in it, and members of Sons of Man. They're like having a cipher like on a bench, like in the background.
I didn't know that. Wicked.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's definitely, if you've seen it once or if you've never seen it, definitely watch it. But yeah, if you've seen it like a long time ago, it's a good one to revisit. I think it's aged quite well. And
it's definitely it's definitely had a reappraisal. It's definitely had a not reappraisal, but a reappreciation, I suppose, in the last few years. Definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. Also, there's like a weird ass scene with like one of the mobsters doing Flavor Flav's "Nothing for You, Man." Like he's just like old, like he's a bit. I believe he was in The Sopranos. I mean, I feel like a lot of them cats are
right
from one joint to another.
But
yeah, he was just like, this guy's rapping, like this older Italian guy is like all into like this Flavor Flav song before he catches one. But
oh no. Oh well, fair play to went out with a bang. Love that.
And there's also there's also like, I think, a cool allusion to also like obviously this is like samurai cinema, like classic, like like Kurosawa type stuff, but then there's also the, like, I think in that scene, I feel like that's an allusion to the Chow Yun Fat Hong Kong tradition of like the gun fu, like like just like the gun is now your sword, because he has a gun too, so he's got a sword and a gun. So
yes, I remember that being a wicked little
and just like that, like John Woo, Chow Yun Fat kind of like nod to that. There's a lot of cool little references, which is like John Moosh does, I think, very, very well. It's not too on the nose when he does it. Sometimes Tarantino could be a little bit over the line when he does. I mean, Tarantino is a remix artist. He's not really like, after a certain point. And I love Kill Bill. Like I love Kill Bill. I love Jackie Brown, but
it's remixes, absolutely.
Yeah, he does a lot of remixes, more or less. But hey, whatever. So yeah, that's my pick. Check out the soundtracks.
Yeah, I need to go watch that again. I haven't, and I've been meaning to, and now that you've pushed me to it, man, because I haven't watched it in so long.
Movie.
Yeah,
beautiful
man.
Movie.
Yemi, Ghost Dog.
I need to watch it the first time. I'm just taking mad notes tonight. Taking mad notes.
Yeah, this is good for mate. You got stacked up before Crimbo, man. You're like good. You're good. This is great. No, but it is. Yeah, man, absolutely. No, it's good. It is good. Let's see what the chat's saying here. Chris Morale, big up from 36 Chambers. Does the show count? It had a theatrical release and soundtrack. The show, I'm trying to remember what that is now. Give me some more deep.
That's a documentary.
It's a documentary, Chris. Sorry, man. We're not using them for this episode. It would go even longer. The old racist mob guys always crap me up, and then you have the scene of one. You talk about the Flavor Flav thing. Aaron says loved how their hypocrisy was highlighted. Okay, yeah, already sounding like some little gems I've got to get in there. Okay, let's do my last. No, I've got two more. Friday's in my 5, by the way. So my last one. Very tough call, probably the toughest call I had between, one tough call I had and none of them got in was CB4 versus Fear of the Black Hat. And it was like those two, one of them was going to get in and they both didn't get in the end. And satire, I'm absolutely here for it. We have our great Spinal Tap films, everyone. We should go check them. Fear of Black Hat it would have got in, otherwise it's fucking incredible. But this is my second hardest choice. And it was between Boys in the Hood, and it's obviously a classic for a reason, or Menace to Society. And I've gone for Menace to Society. 1993. Hughes Brothers. I love Boys in the Hood, and it does what it does really well at times. I do feel like sometimes it is of an after-school special a little bit. It does feel like that. Whereas when I'm thinking of what's impacted my own life more, my society pretty much overshadows it on impact, because the impact and influence it had, it's right up there with everything else in my five, more so than Boys. And I think that one of the main reasons was it was so visceral. It was a little bit, it has probably more imperfections in it, I would say. It's definitely not a perfect film, but god damn, there are characters in this world that we've seen portrayed hundreds of times and that personify hip-hop, right, in different ways. And O-Dog is a character where the sheer nihilism of this lad, this is found in all of gangster rap. That was my first love of hip hop, was gangster rap, and it's on full on show in this film, and it's in its purest form is in O-Dog. And I think the DNA of gangster rap being right there, and I think that harnessing of the energy of gangster rap and that furious spirit of it is more in this film, I would say. And the thing I've always found about O-Dog was he doesn't have a backstory. He doesn't really, he's fully formed, bang, you're getting what you're getting from him, and he's not changing for anyone. He doesn't even have an arc in the film, really, which most characters usually do. But I always thought about it, that filling of the blanks myself. Now I have to fill them blanks in about this guy's abuse, trauma, neglect, whatever has led him to this point where even a slight, like, if you're even trying to slight his masculinity, it becomes lethal. You can't say anything about his mum. You can't offer to suck his dick for, drugs. You can't, all these little things that have him just snap and just kill, and like that lethal kind of, I don't want to call it nonchalance. It's not nonchalance, but there's this weird numbness to it where it's so matter of fact to him. And I'm sometimes wondering to myself, is it the directors have made it so ridiculous that's what's appealing, and then it's kind of troublesome because I'm like, but is this real or is this not real? Like, I don't know. Are people getting jacked whilst they're in the drive-by waiting to get a burger, then having to order someone else's burger? That's not my world. And sometimes I always think, is it exploitative? Is it a bit too more than Boys in the Hood, if you know what I mean? And that has always I've had to kind of settle with that with this film. And I've kind of settled with that I know better than I know, what I've learned as I've gone on. And like when I look at Bishop, who's kind of a comparative to O-Dog in a weird way, Bishop is more complicated. It does have that character arc, but in this, man, that uber masculinity of fucking the characters, not just O-Dog, everyone, and everyone has a decision. Everyone's got agency. Everyone has an out, and none of them fucking take it. And that makes you think, what in your world keeps making you make the bad decision or the wrong decision, which ends up being the wrong decision? And that is what's fascinating about my society. Even the sheer fucking heartbreak when he's like, do you, like, his granddad runs out, do you care if you live or if you die? And you don't know. He's like, I just don't know. And that shit, man, it hits hard, bro. And you're like, shit, that ambiguity of it all, and a generational fucking trauma, the fucking first few scenes where Samuel Jackson's like, takes that guy down for, again, slighting his masculinity. You're like, this film, bro, is, I don't know if they're meant to make it with this many layers, but it's how dangerous and lethal hip-hop and the world hip-hop comes from can be. And is it caricatured? Maybe it is, but I don't know. But yeah, I think big up the friendship group, because it made me feel like even though you have an O-Dog, you have a Stacy and you have a Sharif, and you have that, it's not just hood, like people, like you talked earlier about hood films and how you can kind of categorize it does have nuances in it. It does have some nuances, and Stacey and everyone saying to him, get out, go to Kansas, his dad doing the same thing. And big up Lawrence Fishburne for that chat at the billboard, which, people can take the piss nowadays, but back then it was like, this is woke. This is the idea of woke. This is what it was. This is what wokeism is. Like, it's not, it should not have and all this loaded stuff it has now. It's just knowing better than what you've been taught at school, and big up that scene in Boys in the Hood, by the way, as well, where they're all, and it always sat bad for me, where they're all like having a go at him about being African. And it was like, but that's like me having people having to go at me for being Indian. But I do see myself as Indian. But then if you have no heritage, how the fuck are you going to get there? So as a kid, yeah, this was on repeat. We talked about the soundtracks. Ghetto Bird, I don't think anything's hit me that hard. I was like, dum, dum, dum. And he has the fucking housing, as it's got that bird's eye view. Puck, knowing that Puck should have been in this and he wasn't, and the Sharif character was supposed to be him, and he was like, I want to know why he's Muslim, and the Hughes was like, no, and he left, and yeah, all these little things kind of added to the just lore of this film. And yeah, it just became and Sharif's in it as well, right? And where you're like, yeah, there's just a lot going on in there. Not Sharif, sorry. Who the fuck is the rapper with the nose ring? Jesus Christ, gets shot up at the traffic lights. Either way, but yeah, it's got a lot going for it. And the house party where they played Atomic Dog. So it has all these moments where I was like, fuck, man, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if any of you guys have any strong takes on Menace or Boys in the Hood before we moved on to the next one. But yeah, that's in there for me.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just think Old Dog is just an absolute lunatic, and I think, again, as you said, quite like very well, it very much captures the just idea that you can be so consumed by your environment that you don't even know, like, what your purpose is in life generally. You know, some people might love the game, like an Old Dog, or might have accepted their fate like an Old Dog. Some might wrestle with it a little bit more, like Kane. So yeah, I think it captures that to a T. Those kind of films just depress me, man. I can't even lie.
I mean, they are, yeah.
Hella depressing. So you know, the end, I mean, I imagine we've all watched it, but you know, the end is just mad. Like when he comes to that realization, it's like, you come to that realization maybe a day ago. You know what I'm saying? It was, yeah, it's one of those ones. But yeah, I just think it is a really dope film. Really, very great. I only watched it for the first time last year, or during lockdown anyway.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I told myself I just wanted to watch a lot of those kind of films. So I watched what Paid in Full, watched Menace Society, I watched a couple others as well. So yeah, I've got a fresh kind of take on it. Yeah, I think it's a very strong, like, especially for that era when those type of films are coming out. Like, yeah, it's definitely like up there as far as like one of the greatest. So yeah, that's for me.
Like a sponge, bro. Like that, you're right. At that time, I was like, I need to know more and more and more about this culture. And this is just one of them things that kind of hit me hard on that. And you know, the funny thing is, my white mates watched it with me, and they were so in it, and they're not even hip hop fans. And it was just interesting to translate that way as well. It's again, what are you saying to Menace, man?
Yeah, I think it's a movie. It's a film that certainly has a place in the overall like the history, and I think it, you know, it fits all the criteria here. MC8 is in there, AWACS, of
course.
You know, and beyond, and you know, it's a glimpse. It's like a, I don't know, I've seen the word fatalist being applied.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely like a fatalist glimpse into I guess gang culture, or more so like West Coast, specifically like West Coast gang culture, or then how then that has them now, like a lot of that mentality was then came out and has been present in its various forms. I think environments throughout, like, so for instance, like throughout the states, like different so-called hoods or different so-called like inner city environments where, like, you know, the system is at play, you know what I mean? The system is present in the way that it is, which creates like these sorts of you know, the things that then lead to people growing up in conditions that are that of like a survival first. You know what I mean? Survival is priority or whatever, and you know that manifests in a lot of ways, many which can be determined as or seen as like toxic. You know what I mean? Like there's like this is like someone who's like extremely traumatized, extremely hurt. That's if we're talking about O-Dog, but like it's weird to see like when Jim Jones and The Game and all that shit was happening, like a Big Smack DVD, kind of like early mid 2000s era.
Yeah.
And folks were like kind of like fetishizing O-Dog as like this like hero icon type, you know? And I was like,
I can see that.
Man.
Yeah.
So honestly, I've left Menace back in the 90s. Like I've not really revisited it because it, just like Yemi, you said, it's like it depresses me. And it's like, it's one of those things that I'm just like, you know, like yeah, I don't know. I just kind of leave it where it's at. It's not
Mm,
something I tend to want to engage with. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like I don't get much enjoyment out of it. And nor
mm.
like, but I could see, I could see some of the treasure there. It's just,
Yeah,
as a I might, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot there that I kind of, in seeing like how it's kind of like gotten adopted,
I
I
can see
find
that.
like a
That's
little
Boys in the Hood for me as well.
discomforting, you know what I mean?
Boys in the Hood as well, you think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Boys in the Hood for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I've got that for Boys in the Hood. I just
But
can't go back to it.
Yeah. It's that thing
mm,
where I don't know, it's powerful for me. It's so when I watch films from Gaspar Noé or like Michael Haneke, I don't know if you know those guys' work, but that is not a
that's
pleasant
right.
experience. It's not a sit down, oh, I'm going to enjoy this Gaspar Noé film. You're not, but I want to feel something.
Right.
And I want to feel something different to
Right.
what Hollywood's giving right now, because it is probably the worst state it's ever been in my life. I feel in my living life, I don't think Hollywood is ever going to give me the stuff that is going to make me feel something, and to genuinely feel something. Menace still does that for me, and I understand that it is very much of its time as well, though. But we still have the same old problems as well, I suppose, in a lot of ways, and that kind of people being left behind type of shit, and people making them decisions that you think, fuck, just fatal, like you said, very fatalistic. But you know what? Big up Bill Duke, by the way, because just on that other tip, that whole scene about you done fucked up now, don't you? Like I still see that getting played out everywhere. I'm like, fuck, that was like, to me, I thought that was just my little thing where that Bill Duke scene was so like iconic, and I never knew other people really like loved that scene. And bang, everyone still talks about that Bill Duke scene in the interrogation room. So yeah, big up Bill Duke generally anyway. So yeah, fair play. So right, Yemi, you got your last one, man. What have you got for your last one, mate?
Oh man, this was the easiest one. Because I love this film with all my heart.
Mhm.
You know, whether it's actually a hip hop film, we can debate it. Cam was debating it himself. It ended up not being on his list.
Oh,
CB4. CB4. CB4
okay.
is my fave. I probably watched it like 10 to 12 times, like in total. And even though, yes, it's a spoof, yes, it does poke fun into the whole gangster rap thing.
Mm.
I mean, you just got to think about the people who are actually in it. Like, obviously, Chris Rock is not a rapper, and he's the star, but he's clearly a huge fan of the music, of the culture. So I think for me, he gets a pass. But even in the opening scenes, you've got Flavor Flav, you've got Ice Cube, Ice-T, Eazy-E, all making these appearances, talking about this MC Gusto and the CB4 group as well. So they're very much in character. They're within the story. So they're very much taking part in the spoof in and of itself, even though they're from the culture that it's spoofing. So, Inception. And yeah, I think it just speaks to gangster rap at the time, generally, like how it was received in the streets, how it was received, outside of the streets, the outrage it was getting. It has a dope a soundtrack, Public Enemies on it, Beastie Boys, BDP, Filushnikins. It's just really, really funny as well. I find myself screaming straight out of Low Cash just randomly sometimes. I think I know Dead Mike's verse word for word. Don't ask, but I think I know it word for word. So yeah, I mean, I just think it's just a dope, like, especially at the time. I feel like it was very much like it might have been ahead of its time, because I think hip hop back then, obviously, especially with gangster rap, it was still, I mean, it had been established, but I think at the time it might have been a bit brave for Chris Rock to do, because of the culture. And, he's not necessarily like a gangster or anything, so he's kind of outside of it. But, it's the fact that people actually looked at it for what it was and thought, okay, this is just a funny idea. Let's just run with it. And I think it came out really well. I think Charlie Murphy was a dope, like, rest in peace, Charlie Murphy. He was amazing in it as well. Dead Mike and Stab Master. They're I mean, that name did not age well, but we move. I think they were dope. I'm Black Yar and I'm Black Yar. I mean, we all that one as well.
That still gets played.
Still gets played. Yeah, man, I just love the film. I think it's just something that I will always go back to and I'll always enjoy. I always take something new. And yeah, man, Chris Rock, it probably helps as well that Chris Rock is like my favorite comedian ever as well. So I pretty much love most of what he does. But yeah, man, CB4, that's my that's my all-timer right there.
Love that. Okay. Again, like I said, it was on honorable mentions. I think it does two things really well. One, I think at a time, especially as you said, to have fun in hip hop and let fun make fun of itself, if you know what I mean. And I think that Spinal Tap-ism to it is great, and it's that parody is great to it. And I think the second thing is that real, being real in hip hop, and like the faking it till you make it, I suppose, is what these guys are doing. But it's also like there is this issue of what is real, even to this day, like if you're real or not, that kind of thing. So yeah, CB4, good shout, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, social commentary as well. Social commentary, because it's also like, there's Milli Vanilli at the time, there's Vanilla Ice, there's MC Hammer, it's kind of speaking to that as well. So as much as it's a spoof, it's also a commentary on what people are perceiving to be a problem in hip hop, people pump faking, people perpetrating, and it hits it quite well on the head.
Yeah, I know Fear of a Black Cat came after, but I think the reason I think Fear of a Black Cat really attacks all the tropes so well of like changing to be. I think we had Master Ace on a few years ago on the pod, and he was saying, hardcore hip hop was like one thing, and then G-rap, gangster rap came out, it became a different thing completely. And then he'd hear MCs 3 years ago on New York radio now. 3 years ago, they're all about, hippie power and all this stuff. Not hippie power, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of De La Soul-esque energy. And now they're talking about like fucking killing people. You're like, oh, hold on a minute, what's happened here? And I think Fear of Black Cat really attacks that kind of the tropes of it really well. But yeah, and sometimes you don't need to overly intellectualize stuff. And I think sometimes it's just nice to just, I think if Fear of Black Cat, they try to intellectualize every single thing where they're like, we were slaves and we were too hot in the sun and now we got hats and now we can, or is it you just want to really wear hats and have a kind of, I don't know, either way. But gang, what will you say to CB4 or Fear of Black Cat?
I don't think I've ever seen either of those in full.
Okay.
But I do appreciate the commentary aspect and like the cartoonizing of like the trope that is really more so like the industry cashing in on rap and like cashing in on culture they have nothing to do with, and creating this like give and take system or interplay between like, if you're an aspiring artist, you got to fit this mold, and then we'll make you, we'll create or pump more air into this so-called genre to then fit you into, so to speak. So like you got to be the gangster rapper. I mean, gangster rap, like when I teach my learners or whatever, like we talk about like, I talk about like the whole like censorship and the chain link between like the censorship movement and how gangster rap was kind of partially born out of that, as far as like media's portrayal and the media spreading that term gangster rap into households that had, that into white households, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Being like, okay, like this is what you gotta be afraid of. And this is like, criminalizing like mostly like Black men, expressing themselves and or rather reporting on the situation that, a system flew through their neighborhood and caused, create this environment, this foul environment. You know what I mean? So like, I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that like there is that sort of like poking at the ribs of kind of like the both sides of it, where it's just like, okay, like, yeah, like you're gonna pump fake, you're gonna, dress the part or whatever, to get on, so to speak. But also like the industry itself is asinine and creating this environment to then they want the pump fake. Like they're creating an environment to sort of perpetuate more pump fakery.
I see it.
So
it's like a cycle.
I mean? Yeah, I mean, it's the same. We saw that shit, and we don't have to be a West Coast. Don't have to be like an NWA thing. Like we saw that thing. We saw that here a bunch of times. Like I mean, Master Ace Slaughterhouse album, like that's half the album is like like I feel like it's a joke play on, you know, people dressing up and waving guns in videos and, you know, having hoodies and whatnot and like just trying to look tough, you know, screwing their face up or whatnot. Meanwhile, they were like this, you know, the so-called softest kids in school or whatever, you know, like that whole thing of like, you know, acting the part, so to speak. So yeah, you know, I think CB4 got a bad rap when it came out around here because it was like, I mean, Common has that line. I didn't see CB4 because I heard that shit was whack.
Yes.
Because it was like, oh, it's a rap movie, but it's like goofy and, you know what I mean? Like what's it? What's the word? Shit, I'm losing it. Like the card, like the play, like the meme in if it's modern day, it's like the memification of this
It's like
thing.
a mockumentary.
Yeah, like the mockumentary aspect of the element is what was lost on a lot of us when it first came out. Not necessarily that we thought this was like a serious movie, but we were just like, some corny, like tongue-in-cheek shit or whatever. But like, I can appreciate it, especially after this conversation, for, you know, what it does point to. And
you got to remember, it's Rock. So Chris Rock is his craft is to be a comedian. So he knows about the mockumentaries of the past, you know, and what Pryor's done and stuff like that. So this is his, I suppose this is his like, well, this is my culture. This is the music I love. And this is my interpretation of that with my comedic craft. So it's that kind of meshing of one of the first times it's been done properly. But yeah, no, absolutely. I love that, man. Let's jump into the chat before we round this up then. What we got here, Chris Morrell. I got two bad movies. Go on,
right quick. One of those, I'm gonna tell you who it is. One of my picks gets Steve Piper blows up one of my next picks.
Oh, do you know what then? Before I'm going to go back into the chat, but just name your pick then now, and then I'll go into that chat. What is your? See, this is your last pick, right?
This is I got two more, but yeah, right. This one could be pretty whatever. Yeah.
No, it's all good.
King of New York.
Which
been on my list for a while.
Yeah.
Want to watch.
Okay. I mean, Christopher Walken. Was it Lawrence Fishburne, right? Lawrence Fishburne's in it.
He's known as Larry in this time.
Larry.
He went from Larry to Lawrence, and I'm more about Larry. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Larry is a G. Larry is definitely a G. You know, I mean, there's a Schoolie D is being played throughout, which is weird because Schoolie D is Philly, but you know, nonetheless, that's kind of like the weird. That's like almost like a Jarmushism right there. It's just like, okay, like strange pairing of universes that aren't quite directly connected, but like there's that interlope. But you know, so we have the Schoolie D, like two songs. Saturday Night is on there, I think. That's like a classic Schoolie D joint, apart from PSK and the other joint. Looking at my Gucci? About that time. That shit. Anyway, point being, Christopher Walken, probably one of the illest dudes. I don't think he's had any crazy track record situations.
Oh God, I hope not. Yeah,
I hope not. Yeah, he seems like a jovial person, and I know people who have like met him in real life said he was just cool as shit. So he'd be stoned half the time or whatever. So he's cool. And dancing, you know what I mean? So shout out to dancing Christopher Walken. Wow.
Yeah.
That's the 4.5 hours of sleep.
Oh man, bless you.
Any movie that has a cop any movie that has a cop whose head gets run to the fire hydrant from a car, I'm in. I'm all in. So that's it for me.
Bro.
Also,
go.
King of New York, way better than Scarface. Fuck Scarface. I mean, racist ass Scarface too. Fuck out of here.
Do you know what? I'm here for that take.
Scarface is very overrated.
Yeah, like and it's oftentimes those two being kind of put against each other because of like the whole, you know, drug kingpin, build your empire. Like these are like the I guess like precedent set type joints or whatever in the narrative. So like. Yeah, no. King of New York all the way. I think I'll take Christopher Walken over Al Pacino, to be honest. Like oftentimes, like on screen or whatever.
Oosh,
Yo,
I love it. I love this,
yo, Christopher Walken's monologues will body
bro.
Pacino.
Let's not even go to True Romance, bro. Let's not even go there. Let's not do
Oh
it.
God,
Mind you,
yeah,
that's more
that.
Hopper's monologue, really, but both of them together. Whew.
Yeah, no, I
Man,
mean Christopher Walken made True Romance like even better for me though. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
I'm gonna stand by
absolutely.
that. I'm gonna
Do you
stand
know,
by that.
if you're talking about drug kingpin films, quickly, just I need to make this. I find this all the time, and I'm on my own platform now, so I've got to say it. Unprofit. You can't talk about gangster films and not talk about Unprofit. I'm not sure if you've watched A Prophet, but
Mm-mm.
it is unbelievably good. And yeah, so if anyone's ever watched that, A Prophet, it's like about 10 years old now. I watched it in cinema, French film, fucking incredible. But yeah, absolutely,
Wow.
it's not hip hop though. I don't even know there's any hip hop in it, so can't crowbar it into this. But you know what? I didn't. King of New York is one of my probably top 20 all time. I didn't even think of it as a hip hop film. That's how beautiful hip hop is. I forgot that Schoolie D's in there, and you got that. Yeah, and it could easily be a hip hop film. So this is where and I'm glad that it's in your 5 like that, because I think I've never seen a scene where I've got to that point where I still think of it to this day. Yemi, have you watched? You haven't watched? Have you watched King of New York? No, you haven't, right?
I have no.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to spoil it then. But all I'm going to say is, police funeral, limousine, and I think all he says is a yo. I think that's all he says. And that's all you need. And that scene is incredible. So yeah, I hope I haven't spoiled too much there for people out there. But this is, by the way, I should have said this at the top. This has got spoilers. This whole episode is gonna have spoilers in it. But yeah, I'm trying. I should have said that 3 hours ago. But yeah, either way, yeah, King of New York, absolutely love that. Let's see what people are saying then.
Also sampled a bunch of times too. Obviously, you guys got fat one. You know what I mean? That
I
whole
see you gotta get past hours away. Yeah.
You can't sell
Absolutely.
such a point. I don't want to, whatever. Dime bag getting sold and without me. Yeah.
Although I don't know if
I've
heard. Yeah. So go on.
Someone more recently used the whole part, but you guys got fat. That shit has been sampled tons.
That's Griselda all day long, man. That's Griselda. It must be in a Griselda. It must be. It's made for.
Yeah, definitely. The first time I heard that sampled, I don't know if Scarface would have used it, but I feel like it was on Al Tariq, which was Fashion from the Beat Nuts. His solo album. He has a song called Crime Pays, and it samples Crime Pays in mad ways, the Raekwon line or whatever. But then in the background, you guys got fat. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly. Now you got to test me on that. But
no, I love that. I love that.
It's a good album, good like slept on album. From like the independently released rap.
It's Argento, isn't it? Is it Argento? No, it's not Argento. Oh, what the hell is his name? I can't remember. But yeah, the director as well. Fair play. The director kills it.
Yeah.
It's not
subway
Argento's.
scene too. The subway scene.
Subway scene, bro. Yeah, absolutely. I'm waiting for them to sample Larry Fishburne saying, "I'm going to town to get my knob polished," which I always found was really weird, because I remember listening to that as a kid. I think I watched King of New York really early, and I remember thinking, they say knob in America. No, they don't. That's such an English term for me. And I was like, Larry Fishburne's called is going to get my knob polished. What? But yeah, no, his character is incredible, by the way, in that whole
He's
film.
got the rope. Yeah, he's got the rope chains. He's kind of got
the teeth.
The gold teeth. Yeah, he's
unbelievable. So what we're saying here, Chris Morale, I've got 2 bad movies for us: Baller Blocking and East Siders. Now, East Siders I've never watched. Never even heard of Baller Blocking, so I don't know if you guys have, but yeah.
I think that's either a master No Limit joint or maybe a Cash Money joint.
Okay.
If they ever did a movie, but it's something from the South for sure.
Right.
Or it's got Mac 10. It might have Mac 10 in it. I don't know. Anyway,
there we go. Mac 10. Why not? The Substitute, big up. Yeah, I haven't watched that in a while, but I know Call That Culture. Love that. I think all their Patreon tiers are Substitute tiers, which is great. One of my honorable mentions: Higher Learning. Big up Omar Epps, man. Big up Juice. Big up fucking Busta Rhymes. Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely love Higher Learning.
Any movie. Yo, all right. So any movie that has Michael Rappaport getting stomped out, win. Let's go.
Spoiler by
Michael Rappaport.
Fuck Michael.
Yeah.
That's the best kind of spoiler. Love that one.
But I tell you what, that turn in that film, he plays that one. It's so perfectly him. It should be. 'Cause you
I
hate
wonder
him.
why.
Yeah, I know exactly. You fucking hate that guy, exactly. So Osmond, speaking about movies, Masterpiece, Black Superman, and Repos are truly awful. So bad they're good. I love a film that's so bad they're good. So yeah, I even watched that new Griselda one, Conflicted, where I was like, wow, this is
Whoa.
yeah. I bet King of New York is kind of a hip hop movie. Yep, there we go. Schoolie D all over that. Rocking a Rope Chain and the Furry Kangol.
True.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my honorable mentions. And if Ray Ridge was here, this would have been in his 5. So would What They Can't Jump, by the way. He would have put that right at the top. But New Jack City feels like a hip hop film. And I feel that. And actually, if I remember correctly, my first ever hearing of that sample was Immortal Technique. A Revolutionary 1, I think he has that whole Wesley Snipes courtroom kind of scene where, New Jack City, fucking amazing. What she say again? Rock-a-ba-ba, baby. And you're like, I mean, bro, these lines are unbelievable. Check out director commentary for King of New York. I will definitely do that. The director is out of his mind. You're brilliant. That's what I'm here for. And I can't, it's Ferreira, Abel Ferreira. That's who it is. Abel Ferreira.
Wait, what?
I'm pretty sure it's that.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Hold on, I'm just going to look this up now before people start coming at me in the comments because I know they're going to. Let's have a look.
Oh yes, it is. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's Abel Ferreira. I thought so. Yeah, that man's got, and he is out of his mind. So
yeah, he did.
Yeah,
oh, gee, he did.
Driller Killer Man. That's it.
Jesus.
Driller Killer Man. And fucking Bad Lieutenant. Come on, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yikes,
so yeah, the guy is a level. Sophia from Hobo Junction plays Harold. I knew it. I thought it was Sophia. Yeah, so yeah, Sophia, fair play. Fucking Hobo Junction reference, love that. Could we be friends with a person like Pac if he were constantly exposed to all the bad stuff he brought to him and his people? Says Chris Morale. I don't know if you're thinking that when you're in that zone, but yeah, I'm looking with a revisionist lens. The guy who could get stomped out by Kane was also a rapper called Caffeine, says Osman. Wow, man, these are from Menace Society. I didn't check in on you earlier. Tougher Than Leather with Run DMC, says Chris Morale. That's probably to a reference that we had earlier. Oh man, this is on my honorable mentions and so got near my 5, Aaron.
Same.
I love Clockers. Yeah. Clockers, that whole chat they have about hip hop on the benches where they have that rap argument is fucking incredible. So yeah, Clockers, absolutely. Big up Richard Price, I think, wrote that. I think so. And obviously Spike Lee.
Oh, Richard Price. Oh, yeah. My bad. Yes,
I think he did. And Lawrence was Larry in Apocalypse Now, King of New York. Yes, Steve, big up. I love that. What else we got? Osman, Have to Run. Okay, it's people. We've outlasted some of our patrons here. Amazing. Eastside has Snoop in it. Okay, well, that already, I don't know if I need to be watching that, but I might do. So have we got our last ones then, guys? Because I think I'm on my last one here, and it's a very obvious one. But it's perfect. It is a perfect film with hip hop at its core, probably by one of my most influential filmmakers in my life, Spike Lee. He got Game, you got Clockers, you got Bamboozled with Most Def in it. But I think we're all going to 1989, aren't we, for the Criterion Collection classic, Do the Right Thing. I mean, come on, it's right there on my thing up there for a reason. Do the Right Thing. Where do you fucking start? What do you say about a film that's had so many people talk about it? But I suppose with a hip hop lens, if you talk about it that way, the community, yeah, there you go. The fucking community, big up Bill Nunn, by the way, and Radio Raheem, and the idea of a community being soundtracked by hip hop, but also jazz and soul, and the heart of it being Public Enemy, and the heart of it being one song of Public Enemy's. And the heart of that being a guy who loves one song so much. And I love that about Radio Raheem. And it really makes me think about my own passions and what my support network and culture and neighborhood would let me just be with. Because I remember even one scene where Radio Raheem's there. And I think some Latino lads are like, man, why are you always playing that one song? He's because it's the one song I love. This is the one song. And everyone kind of just accepts that. And then to see the love of hip hop go from that, and by no means is Radio Raheem perfect. Like life, no one is perfect. In this film, everyone has these shades of grey, and as one of the first films I've ever seen show that. And I remember seeing this lad who, yes, you know, he might not be perfect, but he loves this boombox so much. He loves this song so much. And then when the moment the boombox is destroyed, it's a sign of a bigger fucking thing. Like, this is the avenue. You could intellectualize it to the point where I don't need radio. I don't need your commercialized stations playlist to tell me what hip hop is what. I have my own personal boombox with a tape where I can walk around my own, ends, and this is my soundtrack, and I don't need it to be. And that personal freedom, also with the freedom of, this is hip hop, and this is in 1989, where, my God, if you're stamping out hip hop, you're stamping out a culture and people. Like that's how you can look at it that way as well. So yeah, just a great fucking snapshot of probably one of the most complex, fractured, like fucking community pieces I've seen on screen, I think. So yeah, for me, yeah, Chuck D, when he's shouting that 1989, it's like, come on, who else has ever delivered a number or date in hip hop with a fucking, to this day, a contemporary war cry? You are on the cusp of some dangerous shit right now, overheating fucking level of, just power, I suppose. Yeah, but before I toss it to you guys, I do want to say one more thing about fucking Rosie Perez. Like, I think that Do the Right Thing gets talked about a lot, right? But I always love the fact that Rosie Perez, despite her being maybe underwritten as a role, her dance, man, in the first scene, it's fucking challenging. It's fucking muscular. It's aggressive. There's passion in it. And what I love is it is such a masculine, like, art form. And women are sidelined, bar a few names that have risen. They have been sidelined in hip hop throughout the decade, 80s and 90s, 2 decades, right? And to have her as the full on underwritten centerpiece of this fucking show, just transforming it into that dance where she's just like, fuck it, I love that intro. So yeah, man, I just think there's so much you could say, and to squeeze it in right now would almost do it disservice, but let's try. So what have you guys got for Do the Right Thing?
I mean, the first time I watched it, it's been a while. I only watched it once, and I watched it a while ago. So a few of the references are probably lost. I remember watching it and thinking, yeah, this is a good film. I'm not sure if I got the hype around it. I'm not sure I got how much of an important film it was. I just knew that I loved Fight the Power, and I did like the kind of dying. I liked the film generally and what it was trying to say and stuff, other than the ending. But generally, I can now that I'm older and I can kind of see how passionate people are about it, I can see why it's such an important film for the culture generally, just because it relays that hip hop culture. It kind of speaks to what were, tensions between certain communities over the years and the decades. So it's true to life in that form. And it's just Spike Lee just doing Spike Lee things. So yeah. It's I start to appreciate it a lot more now. To be honest, I'm due a rewatch. But yeah, I could definitely appreciate it for what it is. Yeah, so I've got.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, man, on a rewatch, on a good restoration as well. Like, if you got a good TV, or if you go to the cinema, it'd be perfect to watch it. The colors, the heat, the way he's put it all together is just beautiful. Geng, what were you saying, man?
Yeah, no, I mean, I fear saying too much will be redundant. You know what I'm saying? Because like so much has been said about this film, and rightfully so. I think it's certainly at the top of. That's also the other one, Spike Lee movie I love. You know what I mean? Spike has dropped off of the ledge. He is. It's been a while since there's been a good like Spike Lee film, and you could argue about the was it the Five Bloods or whatever shit's called.
The new
What's
one,
it called?
Yeah,
the Vietnam.
Bloods, I think.
Yeah, which I just like something connected to me with that has nothing to do with that movie, but the whole Five and Blood thing. But anyway, I was just like, well, but maybe he did that intentionally. I don't know. I feel like he or like the people he's around kind of are weird like that. But I say that movie is like being around and being tapped in at that point. Like I grew up on like Public Enemy coming up, like from like listening to WBLS and Kiss FM to Video Music Box and seeing like Night of the Living Bassheads from It Takes a Nation. So that was a year prior to.
Yeah.
And then when the Fight the Power video came out, and it was like almost like the Thriller, when Thriller dropped, and it was like, oh shit, like we gotta get around the TV and watch this. Like this is it's like a longer, like grander production of a music video, or music put to a visual. So like it's like, yo, like they're in the neighborhood, they're walking, they're stomping through Bed-Stuy, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like, oh, this is crazy. And like this is like, what movie is this linked to, or whatever? Like, oh, Spike Lee's all up in it or whatever. Later on, I didn't see Do the Right Thing until I think I was in junior high, so a few years later. It was clear as to what it was communicating. It resonated. And what's interesting to think about, well, there's two things I want to mention. First, being around that time and like what that movie portrays as far as like a hot summer day or hot summer moment, I'll just say, because I don't remember if it takes place over the course of 24
one day,
hours.
yeah.
One day, right?
Yeah.
It's like a hot summer day in New York. It's like you could smell the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? You could see there's so much sensorial signaling throughout, like, whether you're talking about like the pizza or like the pizza shop, or just the ice cube scene, you know what I mean,
and the water hydrant and
the
all
water,
that shit,
the crack in the hydrant, and just various shit, and then the little nod to like gentrification with the dude from Boston who's like,
come on.
He said something about like the Celtics, or like Larry Bird's my favorite basketball player or some shit. And
he's got
like,
Bird on the back. This is where it ties into your idea of fashion, bro. Because this is where I learned about coding and what is the hip hop code and ethics that I have to kind of learn. And the idea of stepping on someone's kicks, being that, and like, this is Gus Fring's kicks. Like, let's remember, this is Gus Fring's Breaking Bad's kick. Like the man who ruled Breaking Bad next to Heisenberg. This is that guy. This guy's gone on to do fucking incredible things in his career. And not just that, but like, I love Mo Better Blues and all that shit as well, the way he's in that.
Yeah,
but bro,
bang.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And when they're running and he bumps into him and he's got a bird top on and he's got a magic top on, I think, and you're like, fuck, this is does he have a magic top? No, I don't even know if he has a magic top on, but he just has a bird top, and you're like, yeah, that says everything. He's wearing a Larry Bird Celtics top. It just was so loaded.
And he owns the fucking brownstone, or like, they allude to like some ownership of the building. And like that right there is like, and so now looking back, like watching that movie and seeing what Bed-Stuy has become and what Brooklyn, as not as a whole, but certainly a large part of Brooklyn has become through these decades, and various chapters of New York, just being in the throes of gentrification is certainly like, because I go to a park, on a good week 3 times a week out, and I go to a spot called Herbert Von King. It's in Bed-Stuy, and Tech from Smith & Wesson still goes there. Like he's there out there with his kid. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
And then, so like there's a community there, and it's a specific thing. Like, when you go to the park and you're working out or whatever, like y'all generally all there for the right, for the same reason. It's not like the gym where people like mirror whores, you know what I mean? Like, you're not like the gym bros are like getting crazy in front of the mirror for themselves, doing it for the gram, so to speak. It's different when you're outside for the most part. And like, you get the OGs out there, like, heads who are like 20 years my senior, you know what I mean? And I'm training folks younger than me, or like my age or whatever, and it's just like, there's that sense of like community that I like. I don't know. That's just, it's present. And it's something that then when you step out of the park, you see the splintering happen immediately, because you're now out of this like small bubble of it, like an ecosystem, and you're in this bigger, wider situation where it's just like, oh, like this, okay, so I know what's going on in this block. You know what I mean? Oh, like, why does this block look like upstate New York? You know what I'm saying? Like a gentrified town in upstate New York. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, damn, like this is, shit's changed. Like crazy. More so back then, like, you're talking about the turmoil and the clash between like the discrepancies or whatever that happens between like these, you know, when folks are pitted and seated next to each other, like so close, because like you know, space has always been an issue. We live on top of each other in New York, so like there's a block here, there's a block there, but when you're talking about businesses being also like a limited source of real estate as well, like you're talking about, all right, well, there's a Chinese spot over here, across the street is a pizza spot, there's the, you know what I mean, this the Cuchifrio spot over on the corner, like the Puerto Rican spot or whatever, you know, like
yeah,
it's so close knit that like there can be those tensions, but also there can be those understandings and those like those moments of like, all right, like yo, like some fucked up shit just happened, like we're all gonna come together and stand together against, you know, it ain't always bright and pretty and kumbaya, so to speak, but like,
yeah.
I,
But what
I
is
love
it?
how right, exactly, I love how there's like that movie doesn't fail to speak to the duality or like those like multitudes in terms of like how people relate and differences or not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it says
and
it in the ending, right? It says it in the ending where he's like Mookie throws the bin, and you're like, yeah, this is
right,
like you said, it has these different multitudes. This guy hasn't been like this or like throughout the whole thing, and then bang, like decisions are made over like catalysts, stuff happens, right? So yeah, absolutely. Do you know one thing actually I didn't know before we cap it off was so I think the sax at the beginning is like lift every voice and sing, which is like a beautiful like kind of intro to the song. And I think he wanted Spike wanted Public Enemy to be part of that, and then they just wrote a whole new song, which is like interesting that they could have just done that and did a reinterpretation of that. But he was like, no, we're just going to write a whole new song and just lift the Isley Brothers. I think it's the Isley Brothers, isn't it? Fight the Power. I think so. But yeah, no, yeah,
well,
but big up, man. I appreciate that we are showing love to this classic, this hip hop film classic. So I think that's my 5 done. So I've got House Party, I've got Do the Right Thing, I've got Menace to Society, I've got Haine, and I've got Friday in my 5. Who's got some left?
Oh, I have one left.
Gang, what is your last one, mate?
I also want to shout out Rosie Perez for still being in Brooklyn.
Oh, big up. Is she? I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. And she's supposedly like a really nice person. And, you know, I've had people who literally like last weekend, I was talking to a friend who's a Brooklyn native, and she was just like,
amazing.
Yeah. Or she or her partner was like, no, Rosie's like, cool. I've served her.
Wicked.
Like, you know, she tips well, basically, put it like that. She's not
That's
an asshole.
lovely.
You know what I mean? So yeah, you know, shout out to the Fly Girls and all that. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah. Well, J-Lo kind of has a cutoff. Let's just put it like that.
There's a
but you know, but that's a whole different thing, and you know, so boom. I would say also an addition to my Fresh, all the reasons why Fresh is such a great, or maybe at the top of my pillar, so to speak. There's just a little side note, really. It's Fresh was also sampled on a Loud Records, maybe you could say classic album, mid 90s, for the intro of Big Pun's Capital Punishment.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah, that is.
Punisher smokes all them.
Yeah.
X-Men, that's baby stuff, Holmes. The X-Men, that's baby stuff, home. All the cosmic powers ain't none. Punisher smoke all of them. It's like the character of Chucky, the very say colorful in terms of his use of language, but also like we used to cringe when you'd talk. We'd be like, yo, imagine if that was your friend. Like we'd smack him across the head every time he'd utter a word, because he'd be like, yo, I busted stupid dope moves. Like, oh, you're so annoying. But he plays the character to a T, because he has that. When you watch the movie, you'll see.
I see.
My last one is what year is it? It is 1998. Mark Levine, Slam, starring Saul Williams.
Oh, Slam.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted, so like, you know, when you asked me this, I was like, let me not just say Juice and Boys in the Hood. I mean, you know, you gave me this list and I was like, cool, let me dig. And, you know, Some of them were obvious, and then some of them was like, oh yeah, that joint. So Slam is an ill movie to me. One, because it's Saul Williams, who's like, I like to make the case that like he is a rapper as much as he is a poet, or rather as much as any rapper is a poet. I don't like to differentiate. I kind of despise the differentiation between like spoken word artist and rapper, because you're then you're like then like doing this weird like divisive thing where the spoken word artist is something different than the rapper. Meanwhile, they both have the same idea, like the same core value of this love for language and bending, twisting, flipping language, with a rhythm. Like, you know, there's a rhythm in speech that we all have rhythm, how we, you know, in how we like speak and communicate. So like, you know, rhythm and poetry, right?
Sure,
So,
that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
you know what I mean? So, and if you listen to Saul Williams like recorded stuff, like he's rapping. Like you can't tell me otherwise. Same way June Jordan is a rapper to me. Same way as like, you know, Sonia Sanchez is a rapper to me. Like in you know, maybe they won't refer to themselves as such, but like that shit, like all the Black arts movement stuff, and you know, like thinking about the Last Poets, like those, you know, these are the folks, the four people of what then became rapping, as well as like, you know, that's a tradition that gets passed to the street corner, then it gets passed to the basketball court, that gets passed over here, classroom, I mean the lunchroom, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, come on, G. All right. So, you know, this is a lensing of, you know, another like lensing of, well, this is basically like Fresh, but instead of the, let's be specific, Black male experience in America or in the inner city or whatever, and Fresh takes place in New York. This one takes place in DC. We're talking about not necessarily focused on the street politics of it all, or rather the street corner in terms of hustling politics of it all, but this one takes place and focuses more so on the prison industrial complex. And being that this is 98, this was a year after HBO's Oz made its debut.
It's after Oz. Okay.
Yeah, 97. Oz came out. Oz started in 97. And you know, like if anyone who's ever seen Oz, like Oz was kind of ill because it was like, you know, we're doing this thing that they were trying to like they were like speaking to this thing. Like they were speaking to like the prison industrial complex and like just the kill all, you know, murder, like just the cycle that prison and the pipeline that it can be, you know what I'm saying? The and kind of like almost like never ending cyclical nature that prison stands as, right? Because like cats go do their thing, you know, get let out, and recidivism, you know what I mean? Like they boom back in again, you know what I'm saying? Well, what happened? Why you were out? You were out in the world. What happened? It's just like, oh, you know, couldn't stay away from the shit. You know what I mean? And actually that happens, you know, to one of the cats who used to be who is, you know, rest in power, Mums the Schemer, who's poet in Oz. Like he and Saul, I used to watch them at the New Eureka Poets Cafe. Like those cats were like, I don't know, I don't know if Mums was part of the Slam team in '96, but like they were like they were part of like the elite, so to speak. Like, like if you come around with your like Slam team, we're sending Saul, you know, Mums the Schemer, Sarah Jones. Oh wait, Sarah Jones. Wait, is it Sarah Jones? I'm bugging. And who else was it? Bo, and Bo's in this movie too. Bo's in Slam.
Right.
Like we're gonna send them, sick them, like get them on you, and you're gonna get you're out of here. Like you're not fucking with these cats.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else?
Epic records on the soundtrack. Oh wow.
Yo, all right. Well, all right. We want to talk about the soundtrack. The soundtrack is.
I'm just looking at it. Yeah, it's amazing.
What I'm trying to say is like this isn't like a prison movie like Shawshank Redemption. or like, you know, this is a much more specific retelling, so to speak. You know what I mean? So, and it goes into like the slang as well. Like there's like it's a very like, from what I understand, I mean, it's a very like, it's a lot of prison slang. There's a lot of like, I guess like DC slang in there too. So
Right.
you have that as well. That's present.
Interesting.
And then, you know, the soundtrack is crazy. It's chock full of
Yeah.
fam, Mobb Deep, you know, Murder Music era Mobb Deep.
Yeah.
You have Pun on there. You have Goody Mob and Estero. Estero
on.
being in their in her trip hop mode at that point. Estero's from
Amazing.
Canada, I believe, which is like, that's a bugged out collaboration. You got Nori, you got Black Rob.
Bro, you've got an ODB and Coolio collab. I'm here for that. Absolutely, the park. And you've got Uma track. You got an Uma track on here.
Yeah, you got a Q-Tip joint with Dilla most likely in there because it's produced by the Uma. You got Capadonna and Takitha.
Unbelievable. That's that. Yeah,
know,
mathematics on the beat as well. Whew, okay.
Right. And then you have like you know, like performances by like Saul Williams, Bones Malone, who, you know, a lot of people know Bones Malone as a writer for The Source, like OG.
Yeah.
Mind Squad. So, you know, he's in the movie and he's like the first, his performance is the first track on the soundtrack.
Right.
Sonia Sone. So is it Sonia Sone
from
The Wire, right?
Yeah, she's in this.
She's in it. Yeah, Kima, right?
Yeah.
Kima from The Wire.
Right.
So, yeah, you know,
I need to watch this, bro, because I don't Dead Prez as well. I don't think I've checked this joint. I genuinely don't know. It's just passed me by.
It's pretty beautiful. It's an ill movie. I definitely. It's like one that I always like. I haven't revisited it enough, to be honest. But it's one that like stood out, and I was like, it's one that I got the soundtrack for off rip. So I was like, oh, to me, I thought the soundtrack came on Loud Records because it had Pun, Mobb Deep.
It looks like that. Yeah.
You know,
got Wu on there as well.
Dirty, Dead Prez. Like it has like, you know, it's got Wu, Brand Nubian, who were on Loud for a second, or at least they were on like a lot of Loud stuff. Like, so
I'm seeing here one up at Sundance and at Cannes. So fuck, man. I don't know where I was asleep at this point, but yeah, the fact that it's one at Sundance and Cannes is pretty huge, man. Yeah, Yemi, have you seen Slam?
Literally the first I'm ever hearing of it. But yes,
another one for your.
So I'll definitely be checking it out.
I was about to say another one for your notes, my man. Your notes are extensive, and I'm looking forward to your. I'm looking forward to your responses, Batman, to these. But yeah, no, I've got to check this, and this is what I love, man. These you brought some gems today. To be fair, gang, you have brought some deep pulls, and not just on the films, the soundtrack. So I know, and the Belly soundtrack's getting played straight away, man. Absolutely, tomorrow morning I'm getting that played. So big up Yemi for bringing that as well. But yeah, I think that's a solid 5s all round, guys. This has been long. I appreciate your endurance, especially gang who's had like 4.5 hours sleep. So the endurance, big up yourselves, man, for bringing it and just giving me this compassing photo of like
fucking making an appearance.
Oh, big up.
Say hi, Mom.
Hi.
Hiya.
Hi. How are you doing? Sorry, I thought.
It's all good, man. It's all good. I just realized that's when I start cursing, is when she walks in. Of course. I was like, I've been all right, haven't I? And then I started cursing.
I don't want to know that. It's all good.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. But yeah, there you go.
Whoa. I just peeped something on the Slam background real quick. Yo, have y'all ever seen the HBO? I'm sorry to cut this, like you just derail. I just derailed the whole shit.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Mark Levin, who directed Slam in 98, or so it was released in 98. 1993, he directed Banging in Little Rock on HBO, the shit about like gang culture in like Little Rock, Arkansas.
I've never seen that.
It's YouTube, that shit. It's bizarre. It's like sad and bizarre and crazy. You know what I mean?
Documentary.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
It's like a kind of like a cult, like one of those documentaries. It's like people like, oh, you seen that joint? Like,
Right.
it's
Banging
because
in
it's
Little
weird.
Rock.
It's like, yeah, Arkansas. Like people are like, what the fuck is happens? Like, we,
Yeah.
back then you're just like Arkansas is a bunch of haystacks and rednecks. Like, no disrespect to people in Arkansas and folks who aren't like, yeah, rednecks basically.
But still,
but yeah, it's something that definitely lenses an interesting side of like the culture and kind of like the culture of like, okay, this is a byproduct of potentially a byproduct of like what gangster rap has shown these kids, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Or has been
interesting.
sold to these kids. So there's that. So he has that on his track record. Much better than Boaz Yakin, who after Fresh and before Fresh did The Punisher.
Oh,
Like the first Punisher.
Thomas,
like
not,
Punisher. He didn't direct it though. But he has some sort of like his name is associated, which is bad enough. And then I think he did like he has some Fresh is the only movie you should watch.
Okay, right. Okay, fair enough. I was
good.
going to say, because the Punisher's the one character, Frank Castle deserves a proper showing, man. Come on. But yeah, either way, there we go. So let's have a look. Chris, big up Hurricane Gloria. Well, is that I was going to say Rosie Perez, we've got to talk about her in White Men Can't Jump as well, because she's incredible in that. But yeah, that was my honorable mentions. White Men Can't Jump. Well, I've got a few here actually, but I'm just going to run these as a list pretty much because we've done this for 3 hours. But any that we might have missed, I had extensive notes on 8 Mile, and I was really like waiting to see what people would say about this, but mainly because one of my favorite periods of my life was, when you realize if I can participate in this culture, I can't rap, I can't rhyme, I can't make beats, but how do you participate in the culture if you can't? It was very much in the UK hip hop indie scene from the late 90s to the early noughties, and a lot of it was in battling, and a lot of it was in the battle scene here, and that's how I had my kind of footprint in rap, and that became this film, which was like, oh, this is our Rocky, then this is our like kind of. So I remember going to the cinema and seeing Battleheads, and just all of them be like, so despite all the Eminem flaws, despite all the other things you can put at this film, I think there's that little element to it which has always hit me hard. Well, we've got these are the older ones that I think we have to name, even though Wild Style has to be named. We talked about Juice. I think Above the Rim has to be named, although that is maybe more of a sports film, but I kind of loved Above the soundtrack. The first kicking off, the Pack first song that comes in on is unbelievable. See before How High we talked about, Belly, New York City, Straight Out Compton you talked about, Don't Be a Menace to South Central. I was drinking juice in your hood. I just wanted to see what people thought of this film. I haven't watched it in years. I have a fear it's aged really badly, but it's the Wayans brothers, and we can't deny the fact that they have an imprint. So and I've got Higher Learning here as well. And then just quick shout outs to mid-90s. I thought there was something about that film that really hit me, and I don't know why I still really like watching that film, but it's got some real sad bits to it, but also like, some really interesting bits from is Jonah Hill's life and relationship to hip hop, including that sick Mobb Deep poster in his brother's room. I was like, I wish I had that poster. It's such a wicked poster. Dope, I've got here from a few years ago. I really enjoyed that. Deep Cover, man, that's Lawrence Fishburne, I think, and love Deep Cover.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Poetic Justice. I thought that was one that I grew up on, and my sisters would always watch. Beat Street, Kush Groove, and then a very interesting shout out to Office Space, because it's not really a hip hop film at all, but it uses 2 Ghetto Boy songs brilliantly. So I'm not sure if I can call it a hip hop film, but I don't know if you ever watched Office Space, Yemi, but
what? Oh yeah,
I never heard of it.
You have a ball with that one,
bro. It's so funny. To this day, I watched it about a few months ago, but the idea of a white man driving in traffic, rapping along to every lyric with all his heart to some gangster hip hop song, until a black man with fucking, I think he's got like the newspapers, comes to, and he locks his door and turns the music, and it's almost like you get hot under the collar watching and think, oh my god, mate, are you seriously doing this? And then as the guy walks away, he pumps it back up again. You're like, shit, that's an uncomfortable truth that a lot of people have to deal with now. I bet, you know, that shit that you used to do. So yeah, no, Office Space, my random off the wall hip hop shout. But guys, thank you so much for jumping on. This has been
I've got a
an
couple more
emotional-
honorable mentions.
Oh, have you?
I got
Sorry,
one- I got one more after Yemi.
So I was gonna say,
I'm so sorry. Go.
That's all good. I was gonna say 8 Mile as well, mainly because of the use of Shook Ones, Time's Up, and Last Days.
Yes.
So,
yeah, Shook Ones on that exposed a whole new generation to Mobb Deep. I feel. I think there was Eminem fans, just Eminem fans, and they hear that tick tick tick, and you know, oh no, there's a whole underbelly to Eminem, mate. You got to check. But yeah, I love that, Yemi. Love that.
100%. I've also got Get Rich or Die Trying.
Oh, cool.
Just because 50 Cent's story is something that, you know, it's always been very, very interesting to me. And even though the film itself is what it is, it's still got some good names in it, and the story itself is something that I really resonated with. So I'll put that in there as well.
Okay.
And my last one, Hustle and Flow.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Hustle and Flow. Yeah. I mean, 3 6 Mafia won an Oscar off that shit. I mean, come on. That is iconic shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that
they did.
Hard Out Here for but it's, had to put that one in there.
No, love that. Okay, fair play to you, man. Fair play to you. I thought you could say How High 2 for some reason. Or the you know, How High one with Little Yachty. I thought you were going to put that one in there or something. I thought, is there going to be some
and DC Young Fly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's an odd film, man. That's an odd film. Big up Cabbages, by the way. Big up Cabbages podcast, because they did a whole podcast on that film. And wow, you went there. So yeah, Geng, what was your honorable mention, man?
My honorable mention would be well, someone said Clockers in the chat. I would say Clockers being a pretty decent Spike Lee film, if not maybe better. I mean, it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable watch. I love Clockers for the fashion. I think hockey jerseys, very, very forgotten relic. Well, not forgotten, but like kind of overlooked. Like people go to like there was a big people fuck with like the football and basketball jerseys heavy. And that's also has to do with like how popular the NBA and the NFL are, or whatever, amongst like just in America. You know what I mean? And football as in like NFL, obviously not soccer, or football as the rest of the world knows it, right? So like the very troubled and weird space that is, as well as the NBA though, to be real. So Clockers does that very well. Clockers, there's something with the color too in Clockers, like you know, and a lot of that comes through in the clothes, though. A lot of that comes through in the clothes, like the denim and the denim against the like the Timbs or the orange boots. Like he's got more like kind of like almost like orangish boots on.
But also with the pink bottle, he's always got.
Yeah, the Pepto Bismol or whatever he's always sipping on or whatever. You know, Fredro being in like oversized hockey jerseys or whatnot. Yes. And then and that's Last Days era Fredro. So there's that. Then New Jersey Drive being not the greatest movie ever, but something that, you know, having to do with like New Jersey carjacking, these kids, what's his name? Faison, Donald Faison? Wait, no, Faison, shit, which one is it? There's which Faison is it? But the cat who was in Scrubs.
Yeah. Oh god, now you got me thinking. I'm gonna just look it up. How about that? New Jersey Drive. Here we go. Okay, Donald Faison. There we go.
Donald Faison. Cool.
Yeah.
Nah, definitely not Faison love. Donald Faison, you know, young Donald Faison, and you know, a couple other heads who I don't remember.
Produced by Spike Lee.
What? New Jersey Drive?
Produced by Spike Lee. Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that. But you know, produced by. So you know, I guess he threw some bread into it.
Heavy D. Oh shit.
Yeah, Heavy D's in it. Heavy D's on the soundtrack. So two things I love about that existing. One, this fashion again. I think they got that. They have like that mid '90s, early to mid '90s fashion down, where like everything's vests, quilted vests, and
Wow.
yeah, again like jerseys and big jackets, Carhartt. You got all that going on and whatnot. And then the soundtrack. The soundtrack was so chock full. They released 2 volumes of it. There was New Jersey Drive
It's
Volume 1 and
crazy.
Volume 2. And the
That is
soundtracks,
crazy.
the trance. I mean, you could make a crazy 1-disc soundtrack, and you just have
Mm,
the Outkast song. You have the Redman. There's a Dark Side era Redman song in there.
yeah.
You got Ill Al Scratch. You got Queen Latifah. You got and
Biggie.
then on Biggie with Total, I think.
Yeah. Can't you see? What a
Yeah,
banger
with
that is.
Total, which was like
Absolute banger that
a
is.
lot of people bought that soundtrack just, I'm sure, for that song, because that song was huge, B.
Mm,
And then on the flip side, yo, honestly, if you want to hear one of the craziest, Volume 2 has the Boot Camp Posse cut Heads Ain't Ready. It has Jay Wheeler Damage's Invasion, which before it came out on his second album was a song that you could tell he wrote to the concept of this movie. It's a very anti-cop song.
mhm.
And one of the
Primo on the beat.
craziest, Primo on the beat. That was J. Room Primo era. The craziest shit on that whole shit. I mean, there's the Outkast joint, and I fuck with the Bay Area joint, the Young Lay Mac Mall
Mm,
shit. That shit is Ray Love shit. That shit plays in the movie too. Um, the Organized Confusion and OC song, You
I
Won't
was
Go
looking at
Far.
that. I was looking at that.
Yo, the way that they rap and change up like the technicality in the shit is like fucking mind-boggling. And they're talking about like they're actually writing as the New Jersey Drive concept, carjacking. Like they're doing there's
Oh,
2 sections of verses, because they're all passing off. They're like, you kind of don't know who you're listening to. You kind of have to like listen to be like, oh, okay, I'm listening to Pharaoh. Oh, that's OC now. OC is going crazy.
yeah.
OC is like keeping up with Pharaoh and Prince on a like real
It's that
technical
fudge
level.
pudge shit, man.
Yeah,
It's
but
that kind of thing.
even like like Fudge Pudge after Stress, Extinction,
Yeah.
and
After stress. What?
afterward Life and Time's Up and all that. So like them growing
Yeah.
up and like really at the like maybe somewhat peak of their writing, and they're just going crazy talking about the first verses are like about like carjacking, and the second verses are kind of like the tragedies that can happen when
Mm.
a car gets stolen. So it's like
I need
it's
to.
some
I
real,
need to watch this, man.
yeah,
This is
they're crazy.
really whet my appetite because I'm really in the mood for something like this. And bro, Spike Lee must have had some big thing because the poster's got Spike Lee presents a Nick Gomez film as the tag. So the
That was
guys.
a selling point. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, but
'Cause there's-
maybe, yeah. Well, I
yeah.
think if you're putting your name on
Uh,
something, you've got to be really like behind it. I don't know. I always think, yeah, you sell it, but yeah, maybe you got a big check. But I don't know. I always think like you might want to, yeah. Eric Sermon on this, yeah, Easy Mode B. Fuck yeah, man. You've got
What's going on?
yeah, a lot going on. Wow, what a way to go in. Love that. So yeah, there you go. If you ever needed any more recommendations, film recommend, there you go. Bag, they're all here for you, man. But guys, where can we find you if people want to hit you up from film recommendations or whatever, or Twitter, whatever? If we're going to stay on Twitter after Elon, I don't know what's happening right now. But where can we find you? Where can we find you, Yemi? Where are you at, man? Hit us up and Rhymes at Dimes. Let us know.
Yeah, so personal socials, I'm at Yemi Abiade on Twitter. That's YemiAbiade. On Instagram, I'm Yemi the Abiade, so a the in between my name. And then Rhymes Like Dimes on Twitter and Instagram at Rhymes Dimes Pod. So hit us up if anything rap or if you just want to chat. Holla.
Love that, man. How about you, gang? Whereabouts you at, man?
I'm Gang Grizzly, GENGGRIZZLY, Gang Grizzly at on IG. I'm Purpicide on Twitter, so that's like purple and genocide together, I guess. Jesus, that was a long time ago. Because PTP's purple tape pedigree was one way to interpret that, so that's why it's that. But yeah, if anyone ever wondered. You can find purpletapepedigree.bandcamp.com for a breadth of musical releases by the crew under the label section of PTP, King Vision Ultra, new music coming very soon. I just I just engineered, mix and mastered this new Fat Boy Sharif No Face album that's on PTP, and finishing up the tape design in the next 24 hours, maybe not tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, but things are happening. Come holler at me if you want food recommendations, and I mean, yeah, shit, you want to do a Hong Kong movie pod, I'm here for all the Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest and motherfucking Chow Yun Fat. Shout out to Ringo Lamb and all of them. You know what I mean? I definitely have had stacks of DVDs. So yeah, thank y'all for
Wicked.
For doing
No,
this.
thank you. Wicked. Well, I'm just going to leave it with one thing. I usually ask everyone, what's the last great piece of music you've heard? But let's switch it up for this one. Shoot us, what is the last great thing you saw? So, film, sorry. Last great film you saw. Could be old, could be new, but just the last great film. Yemi, you got one
go.
ready?
Yeah.
What you got?
Heat.
Oh, you're going in.
I watched that a couple weeks ago, and I was just, yeah, man. That's why it kind of burnt me when you were talking about Al Pacino just then. Like, it kind of burnt me because I was like, he's slowly becoming one of my favorite actors. But
he's good in that. He's great in that. No, he's great in that.
Yeah, for real.
Is it first time watching? First time watching Yemi, or
sounds like it.
First time watching. Yeah, man. Oh man, just dope. So dope.
The sound design in when the car is getting shot up.
Unbelievable.
That shit is crazy. That shit, how you not get like an adrenaline rush and or anxiety one way or the other. Like that shit is crazy.
Yeah. It's incredible. How about you, gang?
Yeah.
Very hot opening.
Oh yeah.
Hot opening. Facts, comes in hot, that film. Love it.
Comes in hot.
It does, man. It does.
I just saw, so the story goes, I thought I was going to see the new movie by the cat who did Parasite, Korean joint.
Ooh, Triangle of Sadness. Is it that one? No. Oh, I know which one. The Summit Decision.
I made the same mistake, and I went to see Triangle of Sadness. It wasn't a mistake. That shit was ill. Like, that shit was crazy.
That director is nuts, bro. Have you watched his other stuff? No spoilers. I haven't watched it yet, but
oh my God. Yo, if you want to see, all right, I'm going to try. I'm going to not spoil this, but if you want to see some chaotic shit happen to some very, very, some people who deserve it.
Yeah.
How you say rich? Yeah. It's ill. The way it plays with power dynamics is pretty fucking, I would, spot on is really not selling it, but it's something to take in, because there's a little couple twists where you're like, okay, yeah. So
well, I'll tell you what, if you like that, The Square is incredible and Force Majeure is incredible. Force Majeure, those two, and the way they use Justice in Justice are just a fucking great group, and the way that he uses their music in one of them films, I won't tell you which one, is incredible. So
I've not thought about those people in a long time. That's crazy.
Mate, the way he flips and uses that music for one of the scenes is incredible. But yeah, no, big up. I love that. My last one then before I leave, last great thing. Oh man, this ties into our off-brand offshoot gang of just scallywags on the corner. Me, Alaska Atoms, Mike Seatown, and Thomas Hobbs. We do have our hip hop heads talking horror kind of little offshoot thing. And I watched Barbarian over Halloween. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything apart from yes, please. That's all I want to say. I'm not going to say anything else. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But if you're a horror head, do go watch Barbarian. Even if you're not a horror head, please go watch Barbarian. It's great. So yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate you. And thank you everyone in the chat who's lasted over this marathon. Not many have. Steve Piper's still here. Big up 90s, early 2000s UK hip hop. Oh yeah, Hard Patriot Games about Gunshot on repeat recently. Gunshot, what a reference. I love that, Steve Piper. Love that, man. But yes, thank you all you patrons. And come support us, patreon.com/crate808. And yeah, help support the show. We can do more of this for you and more 3 album runs and all that other good stuff. So yeah, big yourselves up and peace out. Peace.